hand, but he's got a ton of young wide receivers, a really good running back, and a solid offensive line. I never tell you what to do with your money, but Green Bay, you could do a lot worse than maybe putting a couple shekels down on them to have something to say about the Super Bowl this year. So it's just a very rare thing. In fact, I would almost call it unprecedented in the same way I talked about the Luka Doncic trade. You just don't trade a player at that age, at the age of 26. There's an argument to be made. We all know that quarterback's the most important position in football. In the NFL, in the modern day and age of the scoring boom, offenses, high-powered quarterbacks that are difficult to deal with, you could make an argument, and you probably would be right, that maybe the second most important position in pro football these days is somebody on the edge that can get to the quarterback, a defensive end, an edge pass rusher. And nobody's better at it in pro football than Micah Parsons. So Green Bay's gain is Dallas's loss, and we'll get to the latest on the Dallas Cowboy decision-making process. So a lot of football on the program today. From a local standpoint, RSL continues to be on a break. How about a happy birthday to our guy Pablo Mastroeni, the head coach of RSL? It is Pob's birthday today. They're in action on September the 13th against Sporting KC. And then once they come back, it is a sprint for them to the end with 7 matches left, 4 points shy of the playoffs. So there you go. A historic night in Major League Baseball. Kyle Schwarber became the 21st player in history with 4 home runs. And he was like 0 for 21 prior to the game last night. First player in Major League Baseball history with a stat line of 4 of 6, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs. And he actually had a chance to hit his 5th home run. And at that point, the game was over, and he was up against like the backup shortstop who lobbed him like a 60-mile-per-hour just meatball down the middle, and he popped it up. He would have been the first Major League Baseball player of all time to hit 5 home runs in one game. So a fun Major League Baseball story. The U.S. Open continues to go on. Coco Gauff advances, probably in for a Sinner Alcaraz final because those are the 2 best players in the world right now. We have an eye on the Ryder Cup in the world of professional golf. Coming up in a few weeks, and obviously the fall series of the PGA Tour includes a stop in our state at the Bank of Utah Championship down at the Black Desert Resort. So, great time of year. It's a beautiful day outside. It's about 78 degrees and sunny. Feels a little late summer, fall-ish, which is, I guess, exactly what it is. So happy Friday to you. Congratulations, you made it. It is weekend time. Take a big old deep breath. And I know you're going to be watching a lot of football, but beyond that, hopefully you have something fun planned for the Labor Day weekend. We will be off on Monday. We'll be back with live programming on Tuesday, reacting to the weekend that was in college football. And, of course, looking ahead to week 1 of the NFL. Great guest list on this Friday afternoon. Bunch of great guests on the program. Porter booking a good show today. We'll start things off with our buddy from The Athletic who was in Dublin, Ireland a week ago for Farmageddon. Chris Camerani will be our first guest coming up right out of the gates on a Friday. Former Utah safety, played in the NFL, Robert Johnson. Rojo stops by to preview Utah-UCLA. Paul Pugmire, talk a little golf, his reaction to the Ryder Cup selections made by Captain Keegan Bradley about 48 hours ago. Move over to Matt Stevens to talk some UCLA-specific football. Try to get to know more about these Bruins. As I've said over the past couple of weeks, almost every guest I've had, including people that actually work for the program, are just as curious as the rest of us to figure out exactly who this team is. And then our final guest today is my former radio partner from the Salt Lake Tribune. The godfather himself, Gordon Monson, will join us. Chris Camerani, Robert Johnson, Paul Pugmire, Matt Stevens, Gordon Monson, me, Spence Checketts, live today with our friends at Tim Daly Infinity at 4594 South State Street. Come on by and say what's up. And a few miles, we'll call that northeast of where we're at, is Porter Larson. I don't remember what you look like. I feel like I haven't been in studio for 3 weeks.
It's been a minute. You doing all right?
I'm good. Have you seen anybody take the side of the Cowboys? And I'm not talking about like a Skip Bayless contrarian. Any normal, decent, smart football person believe that Jerry did the right thing?
Not really. I mean, there are people, including myself, who will try to look at some of the silver linings, including a good defensive tackle and some draft picks. But, I mean, you gave up. And here's the one that really stuck out to me, Spence. You gave up more to get Trey Lance than you got for Micah Parsons. That's essentially the Cowboys' last 2 off seasons in a nutshell.
That is pretty wild. So, an unprecedented deal in pro football, a bunch of college football to get to. Our first guest right out of the gates will be our guy CK from The Athletic. But before Chris joins us on this Friday afternoon, courtesy of our good friends at Prize Picks, it is time now for your opening tip.
Welcome to The Drive with Spence Checketts on Utah's #1 sports talk. Now into the studios of ESPN 700 to set the scene for the show. The opening tip of The Drive is brought to you by Prize Picks. Use the code ESPN 700 and run your game with Prize Picks.
All right, college football is upon us. The NFL starts next week. Prize Picks is the best way to put your sports knowledge to the test in order to see if you can win a little cash. It's a lot easier than probably the betting nomenclature you've heard, the language that you've heard that might be confusing. What's the money line? What's the over-under? What's the spread? There's none of that with Prize Picks. It's very simple. All you do is just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. So, as I've been saying all week, oh, thank goodness they stopped that. That would have been a total pain to try to do radio with an alarm in the background. If you have not taken advantage of the offer that Prize Picks is giving you as a result of them being a client on the show, well, you've waited long enough, and the time is right now. So what you do today, step number 1, is you download the Prize Picks app. It's available in the App Store, Google Play Store. Just search Prize Picks, download that app. Use the promo code ESPN700, and you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And they're giving you what's called a max discount for week 1 in the NFL, which is simply Dak Prescott, 0.5 passing yards. So when I say pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, obviously you're going to click that box, and as soon as Dak throws for a yard, you have won. You combine that with one other box, you're going to win money. And then you can just kind of see if you like the app as far as how they do things. It's kind of a fun way to get introduced to this ecosystem without having to delve into the confusing parts of it. So our good friends at Prize Picks hooking you up with some money right out of the gates. All right, so interesting to try to understand the mindset of Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And he did address the media because obviously he did. He addresses the media when nothing is going on. And typically when he talks, as he's, I say this respectfully, getting a little bit older, he's making fewer and fewer salient points and seems to make very little sense about the idea behind what he decided to do. And it made me think about just a big picture topic of how important ownership is in the landscape of sports. And that sounds like a very obvious thing, but I honestly don't think all of us fully understand just how important it is to have the right person at the very top of your team, at the very top of the pyramid of the team. The ownership group, typically led by one person at the end of the day. Now, there's a husband and wife dynamic at times. There's obviously a board. There's obviously investors. And it's very rare that a monolith presents itself in the world of professional sports. But I can tell you every time it does, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. When you have an owner in charge of your team that wants to be famous, that wants to be in front of the cameras, that wants to be friends with famous people, and is meddling in the decision-making process that should be executed simply by football people or basketball people or baseball people or soccer people, like, this is a tried and true, almost bulletproof take here. The best owners and the most successful owners in the history of pro sports are ones that are fine kind of being in the background and obviously have very deep pockets, and then they hire smart people in each silo, and then they're hands off and let those people do their jobs. Now, are there times that you have to step in when the job isn't going well and you've got to make changes? Of course. That's part of being an owner. That's part of being a successful leader, is seeing around corners. And if you've hired the wrong person, and if you've given them some time and you've given them the resources to do their job, and they have shown you that they are incapable of doing that, then you step in and make changes. But when it comes to the Jerry Jones of the world, the Jim Dolans of the world, the owners that are front-facing and are always in front of the camera, and they're always hobnobbing with other celebrities because they were never able to cultivate a skill set that made them famous. They just lucked into some money, and now they bought their way into rooms they'd never be in otherwise. And then finally, when they're the ones meddling in the decision-making process that should simply be executed all the time by your personnel people, you are destined as a fan to be set up for failure forever. Okay, and I don't know how much of Jerry's early success changed or kind of colored the context of how he decided to operate? Because the early teams weren't built by Jerry. The early decisions were not made by Jerry Jones. The irony is his most successful run, and it was very successful. It catapulted the Dallas Cowboys into this ecosystem of being America's team with 3 Super Bowls in his first 7 years. Those decisions were made by football people. They weren't made by Jerry Jones. And he bought the team, and obviously as the owner, he can do whatever he wants to do. But ever since he decided that he was going to be the general manager, I mean, he's the owner, he's the GM, he's the president, and then his kid is kind of his his kid is kind of his sidekick. He's got all of his kids involved in one way, shape, or form. Ever since then, for a team that has a valuation of, wait for it, $12.6 billion. $12.6 billion. He bought the team for less than what the Packers just paid Micah Parsons. Think about that. Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys for less than what Micah Parsons will make while he's playing for the Green Bay Packers. So obviously, as a businessman, your ROI on that initial investment of like $150 million has clearly paid a ton of dividends. Nobody's talking about him as a business person. But the other mistake a lot of these owners make, they're titans of industry elsewhere, or they've lucked into some money elsewhere, and they think they can translate that skill set to running a sports team, and you can't. They are different things altogether. And it's so wild to sit here and talk about the Cowboys as the only team in the NFC that has not played in a conference championship game since 1996. Everyone else has, except for the Cowboys. And, you know, as we talked about during the intro, when you make a deal and you move off a star and you receive draft capital in return and a decent offensive tackle, good player, he's a little bit past his prime, but the only way to analyze this is in 3, 4, 5 years. It's just like the Gobert and Mitchell trades. At the time, the Jazz were celebrated for the return they received for those 2 players. And if you look at the return they've received so far and what those draft picks have turned into, that narrative 4 years later is incorrect. You can't tell me the Jazz have won those 2 trades. Donovan has been insane in Cleveland. Minnesota has won with Gobert in a way they haven't in 20 years. And the Jazz are still struggling to even find the beginning of building something that could be semi-competitive. They're not even close. So could Dallas turn these 2 picks into 2 franchise pieces? Certainly they could. And if they do in 4 or 5 years, maybe we speak about it differently. But if you're a Cowboy fan, it has to be a really rough 24 or 48 hours. And if you're a sports fan, what Jerry Jones has just shown you is just how important the right people are in charge of your franchise. Washington right now is a perfect example. They're good, they're young, they're relevant, and that didn't happen until Dan Snyder got out of the way and Josh Harris and Dave Blitzer and his group took over. All right, live today, Tim Daly Infinity, 4594 South State Street here in Salt Lake City. Vehicles priced to move. Come on by and say what's up. We'll catch a quick break and bring in Chris Camerani to do some college football coming up on the other side of a Friday drive. So keep it right here on ESPN 700. He has delivered. I knew that he would. And this is an interesting selection. So we're doing Cheesy Pop Friday. That's the assignment for the music today. None of the old staples. We're going Cheesy Pop Song Friday. And the reason this is a good selection, this is not even Ace of Base's most famous song. At least I don't think that. It's one of them. So Chris Kamrani, Ace of Base Friday. What was the motivation here, young man?
Deep tracks only.
Deep tracks only. Deep tracks
Yeah.
only. That is
just vivid memories of being in my parents' black Volvo in the 90s, very hard, uncomfortable seats, and listening to Ace of Base on the radio.
Because that was not I Saw the Sign, right?
That was not, no. I
Okay.
Saw the Sign's probably their most popular song. Don't Turn Around's probably in the top 5. I sent Porter another one, but it was maybe too obscure. He couldn't find it. So Deep tracks only.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Welcome home, young man. How was your trip? Let's just start there.
It was great. Still feeling it, to say the least. I don't know if jet lag gets harder to get over the older you get, but I would not advise anybody to go to Europe for 72 hours, basically, is the ultimate takeaway, just for the sake of your body clock and your body and your mind and all the things. But awesome trip. Ireland was fantastic. We lucked out with weather. Like, pretty much 70 of the 72 hours I was there was great. Obviously, the Irish weather decided to show up, and it started pissing rain right around kickoff. But other than that, really cool city. Was kind of dealt a dream assignment to be able to, kind of just track the invasion of Americana into Dublin for a weekend and just kind of get a sense of how American football is carving out a foothold over there. And they didn't disappoint. It honestly, Spence, it felt like a kind of a glorified bowl game. Like, Dublin and the Aer Lingus folks, they really know what they're doing. Obviously, they've been doing it for a while, but it was pretty cool. And I know people were frustrated with the playing surface, but listen, man, you're in Ireland. I don't know what else you want. Like, you could have been in Manhattan or Ames, Iowa, dealing with a thunderstorm and a delay. It is what it is. You just got to lean into it, and those teams did.
Okay, good stuff there. That's good perspective, because I have been one of the people belly aching all week long, and so I want to dig in here a little bit. And for our listeners' perspective, Chris was in Dublin last week for Iowa State, K-State on assignment with the Athletic. And if I'm Chris Kleiman or Matt Campbell, I'm a little frustrated that that's how I was asked to start my year. Now, you referenced the time zone, the travel. At least give them a bye afterwards. Don't make it a conference game. And on TV, Chris, it looked like the surface was not ready for football. So from a consumer experience on television, I actually left kind of putting myself in the shoes of the two coaches, being frustrated that I had to play a conference game. These are two good teams. Like, K-State's now behind the 8 ball. If they're tied with Iowa State at the end of the season, Iowa State will get the tiebreaker because they won. The playing surface didn't look great, the travel, and then you got to turn around and play this week. I feel like if I'm either one of those coaches, I probably feel a little frustrated that that's how I was asked to start my year. That's just my takeaway from it.
There's that side of the coin. The other side of the coin is this was obviously years in the making. I think this was finalized 16 to 18 months ago. Both athletic directors said they wouldn't have ever come close to making this decision had they not gotten the green light from their coaches. And Matt Campbell and Chris Kleiman talked about that. It's a bigger risk for K-State because it was a home game for them and it was a home rivalry game. But there are two trains of thought here. One, you are in the Big 12 Conference. You're trying to burst through the glass window, so to speak, and competing with the Big 10 and the SEC. You get a rivalry Week 0 game on network TV at an ideal time. I think it got over 4 million viewers. I don't know if that game is necessarily getting that type of traction if it isn't the main draw of Week 0, if it isn't played where it's at. I get your point. Granted, once the skies decided to clear up, the game got pretty good. And again, like I'm a guy that always kind of thinks, like, when you're talking about an outdoor sport, it's kind of hard to get too picky because, I think these two teams played in like a blizzard a few years ago and it was very sloppy and bad. But I was surprised that they didn't have longer or thicker cleats because the turf just seemed thinner than your typical American football turf. But it's like, if they're slipping that much, you gotta change out their cleats. But I don't know if they had time to or not. But my point is, there are two trains of thought here. One is the juice worth the squeeze. For Iowa State, they'll say yes. For K-State, for the fans that went, everybody that I talked to said, it was an amazing experience, and obviously so. I think combined, the team sent 22 to 25,000 fans, which is a lot. That's basically half of Aviva Stadium were traveling American football fans. So I do think you're going to continue to see the Big 12 Conference push the envelope. Brett Yormark was there and had a press conference with us beforehand, and he was asked about expanding to other countries. And he said that they hear from other countries quite often in terms of maybe laying the groundwork to kind of follow this blueprint that Ireland has laid out so well.
So I'm glad you referenced the crowd. I wanted to go there next. What was it? Because that's another thing that didn't really translate well, CK, over the television. So you referenced the traveling fans from both schools. What about the non-traveling fans? How many people were there, just guesstimate, that actually live in Dublin and the surrounding areas that traveled to see potentially their first college football game?
Yeah, so there was, I think Aviva sits like 51 to 52,000. And if you're talking about 22 to 25,000 traveling fans, then the rest of them are locals. And there were lots of local Dubliners and Irish folk who were there. Some hilarious jerseys. I saw a Sam Darnold Jets jersey, which was awesome. Your guy, your team. Lots of funny jerseys among the locals. But I talked to a group of fans who decided to go because their friend is a female flag football player, and flag football is taking off in Ireland pretty rapidly because it's now going to be an Olympic sport in 2028, and you have a chance to represent your country in a sport that not many other countries around the world play outside of the U.S. and probably Canada. So the crowd was amazing. Like, I think one thing that can't be understated is most press boxes, as you know, Spence, and I don't know if your listeners know this, most of them are enclosed in America because, you're playing into the cold weather months. It's cold, it's loud. The media tribune at Aviva Stadium is just like most other international stadiums where you are in it. So we were smack dab in the middle of the K-State crowd, and it was ear-piercingly loud, like very, very loud. I kind of miss the days of just eating my halftime cookie with Dirk Facer and drinking my hot chocolate, because it was like really hard to focus. And it's a bummer that it didn't translate over to TV. And I don't know if that's a production thing or whatever, but in the stadium, it was raucous for sure.
Okay, now let's move over to your thoughts as far as watching these two teams play, because the other cool thing is that, this game features opponents for both Utah and BYU. Utah will have K-State at home. It's their second last game of the season. They do not see Iowa State. BYU, potentially their most difficult challenge might be in Ames at Iowa State. So Utah plays K-State, BYU plays Iowa State. What were your takeaways after watching the two teams as far as the quality? And it's week one. Everyone's going to make mistakes. But what were your takeaways as far as the quality of football?
Well, once the weather cleared up, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the level of play was up substantially.
For sure.
People were not fumbling the ball. It was way less sloppy. Offenses were going back and forth. That fourth quarter was pretty awesome. Like as soon as you had, Iowa State, you think they have it in the bag. K-State comes back and answers with like that 70-yard touchdown right off the bat. It was really, interesting to see just the style of play kind of take off with the weather changing. But you're talking about two quarterbacks who are very highly thought of. I think Rocco Becht has a little more, experience. He's a little longer in the tooth. He got them to the Big 12 conference game last year against Arizona State. I think Avery Johnson is one of those quarterbacks that everyone is kind of waiting to break out and put it all together on a game-to-game basis. I think K-State losing Dylan Edwards, who is their most important offensive playmaker, on that muffed punt, like the first special teams play of the game, was brutal for them. And I think he's going to be out for a couple weeks. Once they get him back, I think they will be a different team. But, Iowa State showed that they are like picking up where they left off. I know you're basically playing a neutral site game, but to be able to, go travel across the pond and deal with all the hullabaloo of this kind of, glorified bowl game in a different country and deal with all that. They pulled it off. I think they're very much in the mix of Big 12 contenders.
Not to beat this over and over and over, there's another part of me that believes a rivalry like that should be played on campus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's called Farmageddon. Some folks involving both schools like it. Some like the nickname. Some folks don't. This is the 109th straight time that these two teams have played, meaning they've played I think their first game was the year before World War I started. So that is how old this rivalry is. And in a weird way, they are not each other's biggest rival. Obviously, Iowa with Iowa State and then Kansas with Kansas State. But this is 1B for both schools. And it was a calculated risk by Gene Taylor, the AD, and the folks at Kansas State. But, I think you're in a point now, Spence, where you're looking at an opportunity for growth. I would not be surprised if Brett Yormark kind of incentivized or kind of, when he was asked, like, what do you think? He's the type of guy that wants to push boundaries. You know him. Like, he is a very outspoken, bombastic. He's not afraid to kind of throw out these grandiose ideas of what he thinks the Big 12 can be, whether that's real or not. Remains to be seen. But I do think, if you can continue to get eyeballs on your conference when it's going to be difficult during the other weeks of the year, I think you have to take advantage of it. That's a way to take baby steps in competing with the big boys.
So you referenced the name of the rivalry, Farmageddon, and this game is actually going away for a minute. I think I don't know what the future of it holds. But Josh Pate, friend of the show, one of the loudest voices in college football, on his pod this week reported that he's been told that there are some in the Big 12. And according to Josh, they're not football people. They're administration. They're administration people. They're folks that don't really know or appreciate the richness of traditions when it comes to rivalries in college football. And there are people that are pushing to remove certain names of Big 12 rivalry games, namely Farmageddon. Namely the Holy War, Utah, BYU. Do you have any insight there as far as what that story entails?
Not the naming portion. Brett and the ADs in the press conference were asked about finding a way to keep this game going because the Big 12 scheduling matrix, because of the 16 teams, will eventually keep these two longtime rivals from playing in 2027. The tricky part of it is each school gets a quote-unquote protected rival within the scheduling matrix. Obviously, Iowa State's main rival is Iowa that plays in the Big 10. Kansas State's main rival is Kansas that plays in the Big 12. So, is it fair to allow Kansas State to potentially protect two rivalry games while Iowa State doesn't really get one? This is kind of the byproduct of a fast growing process. I do think it's a bummer that it's going to be going away in 2027, especially considering it's a conference rivalry game. But, all parties involved said they're looking at all possible avenues to try to get it going, but it kind of remains to be seen at the moment.
All right. Before we get over to a thought from you on the two local, maybe a little Bronco Mendenhall, Utah State as well, but we'll do some local college football in a moment. I wondered, so tomorrow Lee Corso will make his final headgear selection. It is Texas and Ohio State, which should be a barn burner. Texas, the number one team in the country, but not even favored to win their opener. And, it's funny, CK, I know that some guys over at The Athletic have written on this, and a lot of people have talked about it. I don't know if it's just like aging a little bit. It's been interesting. Frank Layden passes last month at the age of 93. There's just like this generational kind of shift that seems to be happening in my life as it pertains to sports, with certain people just aging, certain people changing networks, like the Inside guys on TNT that will now be with the ESPN family. And, the Lee Corso story, for people that don't know, it's pretty interesting. He was a college player at Florida State, and then he coached for like 2 decades. He essentially had 3 decades being either a player or a coach in the landscape of college football. And according to his own account, never had any premonition of being in the media or on television. And in his mid-50s is when he got the opportunity to cover college football on television. And now he just turned 90. It's interesting that the most significant portion of his football life is actually something not even he himself saw coming. And, if you're a college football fan, you can call it corny, call it whatever you want. Lee Corso selecting the headgear on Saturdays is really intertwined in the tapestry and the thread of what this sport is. So I don't know. Just wanted to get some thoughts from you, whether or not it's something you grew up watching like I did, as tomorrow will be the final time we see Lee Corso select his headgear.
Well, I don't know if this was an oop-de-oop by you or a Kansas City shuffle, but when you say some guys at The Athletic wrote about Lee, I was one of those guys this week and last week. Justin Williams and I were lucky enough to put together a really cool in-depth oral history of Lee's run on College Game Day, as well as a separate story about how the game day kind of family helped Lee after he suffered a stroke at 73 17 years ago. I don't know if that was you kind of being tricky, but if it was, I appreciate it. And if it wasn't, I also appreciate it. Here's the thing about Lee Corso. Go read the stories because they're amazing. And we got all the heavy hitters like Reese Davis, Herb Street, Pollock, everybody that you can really think of, Fowler, Dez, everybody, Tim Brando. The stories that they have about Lee Corso are amazing. They're as funny as you might think they are. He was the guy that basically in real time figured out he could be the Dick Vitale of college football coverage at ESPN in the late 80s. And I agree with you. I mean, if you're looking through a prism of how this sport's popularity and just overall amount of fun rose, you have to look at it through the lens of College Game Day on ESPN and Lee Corso specifically, because he was able to balance this X's and O's type approach during his heyday with going toe to toe with some of the funniest, most outrageous people. We have stories of, the time when Bill Murray threw him to the ground to basically start in the middle of a actual thing. Bill Murray throws Lee Corso to the ground, who is, I think he was 82, 83 at the time, then throws a spear over this entire crowd of people, and it luckily lands in the grass and not into somebody. Lee Corso brought the best out of people, and he made it fun. And that, like you said, the headgear pick is synonymous with basically getting the day started on Saturdays. I could go on and on about, this topic. It's going to be really emotional tomorrow. It's going to be really cool. And, lucky enough that we were able to work on that story the last couple of weeks.
Follow up, the relationship between Herb Street and Lee Corso. Kurt's father passed away about a decade ago, and I didn't know that until I read the piece, and good job by you. Just let me be clear about that. And it's become almost like a sweet thing to watch, where you can tell in the moments where Lee gets a little confused, you see Kurt put his hand on Lee's hand and tries to just kind of guide him through. And, the other thing is I did pre-app and post with Tom Nasalki for a number of years before Tom passed. And so as I was kind of reading some of these stories, whether it was Tom or Frank, a lot of the guys that I've done radio with on the basketball side of things have since passed, and there were certainly moments with Tom where a thought would escape him, and so you try to gently bring him back in, and you don't want to come across as somebody who's embarrassing anybody. You just kind of feel bad and want to do the best you can to help them get through it based off of all the things that they taught you, because Tom and Frank taught me a ton about basketball. But what sort of insight were you able to ascertain about the relationship between those two?
Oh, I mean, it's very, very real. And I don't know if you've seen clips of the tribute that ESPN aired last Friday. Herb Street was a mess from the get-go. You can tell that not many relationships are forged like this in this industry. Obviously, you have a unique point of view because you've worked with folks, so close to the sport and people that you grew up knowing. So, for some that are lucky enough to have this type of relationship with people like Kirk, like you, they are, never going to miss an opportunity to talk about it and talk about the importance of people's impacts they have on their lives. And I mean, that's the thing about Corso, man. there are so many awesome stories that like, honestly, we could fill up an entire hour. Seriously, like, it is just this kind of, how do I say, he is he's your uncle. Like, I think Davis said, he's your uncle, he's your grandpa, he's your dad, he's your brother. Like, he's everything at one time. And he was able to be that for Kirk during, the hardest time of his life. And now Kirk, as you've seen the last 17 years, and everybody else on the show, they've kind of paid it forward, because Lee was basically the face of the show for a long time. And then after the stroke, they knew that he wanted to continue to do it and that he would need their help. And everybody was there, at the immediate offering. I mean, like, my favorite quote in the second story about them rallying around him is from Dez. And I think he says, he's such an important figure, not only on the show, but in college football, period. And nothing was more inspirational than his comeback. He's like Rocky. He's our Italian stallion. And the stroke was clubber laying. It ain't knock my man out. It just showed what he's able to fight through. So, like, I mean, the fact that happened 17 years ago, and here he is retiring at 90. I know his presence on the show has been a little less involved in recent years. He's getting the proper send-off tomorrow. And, people will get to smile. And, that's what Kirk told us. Like, Lee's whole job, his entire being on the show, was, at the end of the day, when you bring up Lee Corso and you start telling somebody a story, as Kirk said, everyone starts to smile, and that's what he was put on this earth to do.
Yeah, it's really cool. I would imagine it'll be an emotional day tomorrow for a lot of people. And if you're a college football fan, watching Lee Corso select the headgear, it's always been. In one way, it's so dopey, and in the other way, it's so endearing. It's just become something that we've all enjoyed. At least I certainly have. All right, CK. I'll tell you what, and this is not a trade that's exclusive to the Bruins this year. Nobody seems to know anything about UCLA, including their play-by-play announcer, including their analysts, including people that work for the school that we've had on. My first question has been, what do you feel like you know? And they're very honest, like, well, not much of anything. It's a new quarterback. It's 2 new running backs. It's 3 new offensive linemen. It's a totally rebuilt secondary, 8 new coaches, including a new offensive coordinator. Utah is now a 5.5-point favorite on the road. And the Utes are also a team that has a lot of questions we're looking to have answered, with a new quarterback and coordinator, and obviously an offensive line that will be the main point of emphasis because of all those guys coming back. But what's your gut tell you about what we'll see on the Rose Bowl coming up tomorrow night?
I think it'll be a week 1 game, like it is for everybody, especially for both sides, because they're breaking in 2 brand new quarterbacks, albeit very talented quarterbacks that are, in Nico's case, coming home, and in Devin Dampier's case, coming to Utah to basically try to eradicate the demons of the last several years of the quarterback position. I'm not anticipating a very, rosy, free-flowing game. I bet there will be very sloppy moments on both sides. I think one thing Utah has going for it over UCLA is Devin's played in Jason's system, so he knows all the calls. He knows everything he's supposed to do. And, there are some players that came from New Mexico with them, but, like, it's one thing to have 1 wide receiver. It's another thing to have to, introduce 5 offensive linemen, even though they're all, that's one of the most talented groups in the country. Breaking in a new running back and all the things. So, I mean, Utah, I think, has the edge, but, I'm never going to discount kind of the it factor at quarterback. And the game that I'm always going to think about is the Anthony Richardson game at Florida a few years ago, where, Utah was, looked at as this very well-rounded team that had all the makings of, contending for a conference title, and they eventually did, but they just couldn't handle an elite athlete at the quarterback position. So we'll see how Morgan Scalley's defense handles Nico tomorrow.
On the other side, it's a much different, and I'll say, challenge is I'll use that word loosely. We had Kalani on this week, and I will say, with the dynamic of starting a true freshman, if I'm Kalani, if I'm A-Rod, I don't mind a soft landing spot. Now, as a consumer, I hate it, but I hate all these games. Like, we'll learn nothing about BYU. They're a 44.5-point favorite against Portland State, who had 42 hung on them last week by Tarleton State at home. But again, you're breaking in a freshman quarterback, so I guess there could be worse dynamics. But what, if anything, do you think we'll learn about BYU coming up tomorrow?
To me, I just want to see how many times a bear throws a touchdown to a tiger.
Yes.
and have them be related. Like that is ultimately at the end of the day, that's it. If you're BYU, come out of the game as healthy as possible, and you don't have to show the playbook and its depth too much. But other than that, I'm looking for bear to tiger. That's it, man.
Last thing, because I can hear little Leo, so we'll let you go in a minute. Do you think at some point we could move into a space where a BYU Portland State, and I'm not picking on BYU because there's so many Big 12 teams that played or will play just dog teams this weekend. And Coach Witt on Monday of last week, media availability, talked about how he would prefer maybe a couple of preseason tune-ups before launching into your actual schedule. Now you get non-con, and BYU's non-con is really bad all 3 games, and Utah's isn't all that tough either outside of what should be an interesting game tomorrow. Do you think we'll ever see a truncated, maybe 2-game preseason in the world of college football?
Not until there's a CBA. There's got to be a CBA in place because I just don't think you're going to have players who are being paid now by schools to be asked to play in preseason games and risk injury. I just think if there's eventually a CBA in place and a players union, I think that would eventually help expedite that. But until then, I just don't really see that being a reality.
You want to golf tomorrow?
Where are we going?
Mountain Dell, 12:10, 2 open spots.
No.
All right, man. Well, welcome home. Glad you traveled safe, and great work, and we'll get you back on soon. Thanks, EK.
Thank you, sir.
Chris Kamrani from The Athletic. Check out his latest on Lee Corso, on Farmageddon in Dublin, up on his Twitter page. Just at Chris Kamrani is where you find him. Brought to you today by our friends at IFA Country Stores. You can consult IFA's team of experts for your yard this season or any time of the year. Get ready for fall and winter with Step 4. More information online at ifa.coop or stop by one of the many Utah stores today. As always, IFA Country Stores helping you grow the things that you love. We're live today at Tim Dolly Infinity, 4594 South State Street. Come on by and say hi. Vehicles priced to move. Tim Dolly is Utah's #1 used car franchise dealer with over 1,300 vehicles, including hundreds of EVs, so the time to buy is now. Plus, Tim Dolly's Forever Warranty comes with an all-new and qualified used vehicles. So don't wait. Visit one of Tim Dolly's 7 locations today. 1 hour down, 3 hours to go on this Friday. We'll keep the college football conversation going coming up on the other side with former Ute and NFL safety Robert Johnson. Rojo's our guest next right here on ESPN 700. Okay, we are live today with our good friends at Tim Dolly Infinity at 4594 South State Street. Their EV credits are expiring at the end of September, so come on in and take advantage of that. The forever warranty is kind of their staple. We got some great people out here getting you in vehicles priced to move. So 4594 South State Street. Come on by and say what's up. We're going to do a little golf today with Paul Pugmire, Matt Stevens from the UCLA broadcast team will join us, Gordon Monson from the Salt Lake Tribune. But joining us now, he's an All-Mountain West Conference safety and a member of Utah's 2008 Sugar Bowl team. You know him, you love him. Rojo, Robert Johnson. Rojo, happy Friday, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing today? How's everybody out there doing, too?
Everyone's good, man. Well, I can't speak for everybody. I'll only speak for myself. But college football's back, so we're all doing well. Where do we find you, Rojo, on this Friday afternoon?
Well, right now, I came up here to California, so I'm up here. I'm definitely going to go support the youth. I'm going to be there for sure. This is going to be my first time being at the Rose Bowl in general. But it's going to be really, really good to kind of be up here and chill out with some of this good weather. And then on top of that, some of the fans. And hopefully we come back to Salt Lake City with a W.
Attaboy. Give us a life update, my friend. What's been going on with you as of late? What are you up to?
Well, I mean, currently still working at the University of Utah as a career coach, which has been awesome, has been really, really good to be able to help some of these students at the University of Utah, all the freshmen and sophomores with their career path. And this is the longest job I've had outside of playing in the NFL. I've been there for 2.5 years, and it's been really, really awesome just to have that ability to still be there.
Good stuff, man. Well, great to have you on. Let's start with a couple of big picture questions, just the feel you get around the team this year. We'll get to UCLA in a moment. We'll get to the Rose Bowl in a moment. But, Rojo, as you know, Coach Witt has set a standard that we have not seen necessarily as far as the results for a couple of years. There are a lot of reasons for that, namely injuries and health. The fact that they won 8 games 2 years ago still, to me, is one of Kyle's best coaching jobs. And last year, year one of the Big 12, did not go the way any of us expected. Is there confidence up there that this year is going to look the way that we're all expecting it to look?
I believe it's a lot of confidence that's going to change up a lot of what Coach Witt has put together, because this year, just going to practice and seeing what's been happening, the RPO system is something that's very dangerous and something that's like unique, and you can put up a lot of points. So I've already been kind of consumed my own brain of like, the first undefeated season that we had at the University of Utah with Alex Smith, that was a high-power offense. I believe that the offense this year should be the same from what I'm believing and what I'm seeing at practice. But Coach Witt holds the standards, and you know how it goes. Defense win games, offense put the points up.
So, yes, this is true, and we've talked a lot about this new offense with a new quarterback in Devin Dampier, who comes to Salt Lake City with his offensive coordinator, Jason Beck. Couple new running backs. So what I guess the way I'll ask it is, what should we hope to see tomorrow night, specifically from the offense, with a brand new cast of characters, a wide receiver room that we still have question marks about? What are we hoping to see from the offense tomorrow, Rojo?
Hoping to see some more explosive plays. Like the last couple of years, you know, Coach Ludwig, the way his offense was always put together was like yak yards, you know, the yards after catch. It was throwing those 5, 10-yard routes, and maybe, you know, you sprinkle in a 20-yard route. I believe right now that we should have some bombers, and I call bombers as anything that's past 40. So I feel like anything that's a pass that's over 40 yards is a bomber play, and I think that we should have a lot of those, or explosive plays. You know, like that should be our biggest thing in this type of offense, is to put up these amazing quick touchdowns. And University of Utah hasn't seen something like that, like I said, since that era of having Alex Smith at quarterback with all the special weapons that he had at receiver as well as tight end.
So, Devin, of course, has just played his college football in New Mexico so far in the Mountain West Conference. This is a different beast, certainly when conference play starts, week in and week out in the Big 12. What are the biggest challenges, Rojo? And you've stepped up in competition a couple of different times all the way to the top at the NFL. When you take a step up, when the other players just are bigger and faster and stronger, and you're running into just bigger, better athletes week in and week out, what are the challenges you face to take that step up in competition?
I don't really think that it's any – I think it's more – well, first off, I don't think it's a lot of a big challenge. I don't think it's a big challenge to change it up. I think it's more of a mental game. So for Devin, I'm still learning him. I'm still learning who he is. But I believe that he's going to step up to the competition because mentally, you could play with anybody mentally. I mean, I think about us going in against Alabama. We didn't go in with no thoughts of like we're not better, we're below and they're better, they're in a higher conference. We went in with the mindset of like, yo, we're about to win this game. I think that he's going to do the exact same thing in a way that he feels, and hopefully it can show with the results that we're looking for with more points on the board and walking away with that win that we really, really want, because this will be a really good challenge to be a first game of the year.
So it's been interesting, Rojo, over the past few weeks since we've moved most of our coverage over to the college football space. We've talked a lot about this UCLA team and what Utah's up against. And, usually you can find a lot of quote-unquote experts to do a deep dive and help you understand what the opponent looks like and who it's going to be. And this is not a dynamic that's just exclusive to UCLA. It's the new world of college football, where most every team at least has 30 to 40 new players, some more than that. UCLA has a brand new transfer quarterback. They've got 2 new running backs. They have 3 new offensive linemen. They have an entirely rebuilt secondary. They've got some decent returning players along the defensive front who were hurt last year that they're expecting to get a lot from. But I don't know really what to land on when it comes to the challenge Utah's up against. It's also a coaching staff with 8 new coaches, including a new offensive coordinator, and Deshaun Foster's just in his second year. Have you been able to learn anything about the Bruins? What exactly do you think Utah's up against tomorrow night?
And I haven't even learned anything about it. And, like, hearing you say all this that you just spoke to me, that's exactly how I was thinking, was like, this is one of those games where it would turn into a second half type of game where the first half you have to fill out what the offense is doing, and it's one of those where you try to go back and watch film of what's supposed to have been going on, but it's tough because you have all these new faces, these new players, and these new coaches, and they have these goals, and I want this and want that. So I feel like this is going to be one of those games where it's really, really important to have it because it's early in the season, and then you'll learn what you're going to identify on the Utes as well, on the Bruins. But also, there's going to be a first half of seeing what's happening, and then the second half of, like, I got a feeling that this is what they're trying to do. So Coach Scally has always been a really good, amazing strategist. I say strategist is somebody that can make things, that can change things on the go. So I believe that the first half is going to be a lot of the unknown, and then the second half is going to be, okay, we know what they want to do. They want to be a running offense, or they want to be a passing offense.
Week 1 always brings a tremendous amount of sloppy play and mistakes. It's pretty rare a team is ready to go right out of the gates week 1. So with all the questions, Rojo, we have about Utah, with all the new players and the new offensive coordinator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, do you like UCLA as a week 1 opponent? I know we don't know much about them, but it is a Big Ten team. It's a P4 team. It's a historic college football venue. There are a lot of teams with their week 0, week 1 opponents that are playing, the FCS, FBS, matchup that will lead to 45 and 50-point wins. Would you rather have a softer opponent week 1, or do you kind of like the UCLA challenge?
I like the UCLA challenge. I like that a whole lot more, especially being down there in the Rose Bowl, because it's a hostile environment, and on top of that, you have all these Bruin fans that's really looking forward to the season, and they hoping for the best. And then you have us. We're hoping for the best, and we're trying to push through. It's like 2 brand new teams that's playing against each other with brand new faces, but the only thing that gives us the advantage is exactly what you mentioned. We have Coach Whittingham. We still have Coach Scally. Those are like our primary coaches that will implement the same type of strategy or the same type of plan that we always have every year. And then you look at UCLA that has brand new faces. So I think that having a strong opponent that you play against the first week is always really good, because then we're really going to see how we match up against some talent that might be on the same level as UCLA, or maybe just a tad bit better, or maybe a tad bit under. So this is what you want. You want to see it, and you want to be able to do it. And I'm happy that UCLA was. Well, from what my understanding is, I'm happy that they gave us the ability to play them in Pasadena this year, and they really want to match us up. So this is going to be really, really good.
Last year, Rojo, it was a different type of pressure. The target was directly on Utah's back every week. because they were picked to win the conference by Vegas. They were picked to win the conference by media. They were picked to win the conference by almost everybody. And the people that didn't pick Utah to win the conference, it was unanimous that they were a top 2 or 3 team. Now, the conference was flipped on its head. Arizona State was picked to finish near the bottom. They win it. BYU picked to finish near the bottom. They rise up. And Utah and Oklahoma State, specifically, 2 of the teams we all thought would be in it, just did not have great seasons. This year, that pressure is off. As somebody who played at this level, do you prefer to be the team that walks into the stadium and everybody thinks you're going to win and win the conference, or do you kind of like having that pressure on the side this year?
I like being the underdog. I love it. Like for me, it takes the attention off you, like you just mentioned, and it gets to a point where it's like you got to put some respect on my name. You know, especially when it comes to the University of Utah in general. A lot of people always. Like, you know, last year was the first year I said that we had the big buzz of, like, Utah is there and we doing this and doing that. And then, you know, we fumbled the ball, you know, and, you know, our record wasn't as strong as we was hoping. And so now they kind of put us back under the radar of, like, hey, this is a tough-nosed team. But nobody has, like, a prediction of, like, hey, they're going to do good or they're going to do bad. And I love being the I don't know team. That's the best feeling because think about it last year. The Arizona State was the I don't know team. People was like, we don't know them. We're just going to leave them at the bottom of the Big 12. Then they rise up. And, you know, I don't talk about a team down south, but I would say Coach Sataki did really good with the team. They still suck, though. But for us being under or us being now on the radar, I think it's going to be a really good season this year because the goal is just to make it to the bowl game, and that's how Coach would always look at it. Make it to the bowl game, or this year it might be make it to the playoffs.
I know you don't talk about them, Rojo, but they are coming off an 11-win season when they beat Colorado in the Alamo Bowl. Rojo, I hear you, brother. The shoe's kind of on the other foot. BYU, the last couple of rivalry games have gone their way. The last one was here in Salt Lake City. So I know it's way down the line. Both these teams have 6 games before we see Utah, BYU, and Provo. But is there a little extra layer of pressure on the Utes this year to kind of get this thing back in the momentum here in Salt Lake?
I mean, I would say this. When it comes to the team down south is that the coaching staff, we all know the coaching staff is special down there. They was once my coach. They coached me, and they helped us. They helped me get that undefeated season. So that's going to always be the biggest advantage is the coaching staff. And I'm hoping, you know, this year, you know, going down there late in the year, it's always tough playing down there, and Provo it's just one of those places. But what I would say is that you got to always remember that game, it doesn't matter what the record is between anybody. It always turns down to like a couple of plays, no matter what it is. And the goal is you win that game, your season is won. So the goal is hoping that we get down there and we get that win because then no matter what the record looked like, we won the state over, and that's the whole plan. Get the whole state to be red.
What was your record against BYU as a player?
I don't even want to talk about it. Just know that down there in that nasty place down there, Provo, I haven't won a game down there. So it's a sad scene. But I did whoop them. We whooped them though when they came to us. That's the undefeated season. We whooped them. But I'm 1-2 against team down south, and yeah, they got me.
The only reason I bring it up is I need to know what it's like to be a player and play BYU in Provo. What's that like? What's the crowd like? What's the feel like? What's the energy like as a visiting player for Utah playing BYU in their stadium?
It's a different world, and like it's way different. It's so different because the fans out there, they're I mean, I don't want to be like a Max Hall, but because that's a rivalry. What I would say is that the fans down there, I don't like the way everything goes down, and it feels like you're really in a war when you are playing down there, and it's competition war from what I would say to be on the nice side, but it is a sucky feeling being up there. It just sucks. Like they would make sure the grass is longer. Like people don't even know this, that they don't cut the grass, and they water the grass to make it a little damp So then it slows down some of the fast players. It's little chess matches because you got to think about it. The year that I lost down there when they went undefeated and George scored that touchdown, that's the same year that they decided to change their jersey. See, so it's really like it's a game. It's a mental game, and it just sucks out there. Just the air is different. It's nasty out there.
When it comes to you reference the fans, is it things that they say to you? Is it just the heightened feeling because it's such an important game? What were your experience in Provo with BYU fans, Rojo?
It's the you can feel the energy. You know how I mean, hopefully people that's listening, you know how sometimes if somebody's looking at you, you kind of get that feeling. It's like make you look at them in their face and it's like, oh yeah, they were staring at you. It's the exact same feeling of being on that field. And if the fans can really get that feeling of like somebody's looking at you and they don't like you, it's like you can feel that energy, and it either you either step up and it's like it's time to play, or you kind of say I need to get away from there. And like for me, between that freaking Cosmo and those freaking cougar tails, and it's just, see, y'all getting my juices flowing right now just thinking about that place, and it's just nasty.
Cosmo catching strays on a Friday. Wow. Okay.
There.
I was just curious because you hear stories, and to your point, I mean, I was a student at Utah. I come from a family full of BYU, and so I grew up with this game, and I've been in media for 20 years. So from a fan and media perspective, you do feel that energy, but I'm always curious as to whether or not the players actually – because it's obviously a long-standing rivalry, one of the best in college football, so that brings a heightened passion, and there are all these dynamics about the in-state – coaches going from one school to the next. And now we have the dynamic, and I've had it for a few years, of really good players coming to Utah from BYU, and now some really good players going from Utah to Provo to play for Kalani. So I always just am curious as to whether or not the players feel the same amount of energy that all of us do on the sideline, and it sounds like you're saying that you very much do.
It is, but then there's one big thing, and this is me just making sure I clear this up. One of the biggest things is that the state of Utah is a wonderful state. And even though that's our rivalry, whenever we are at all-star games together or we're in the same area together, we all make sure to look out for each other, and we all make sure to represent the state of Utah really well, because the state of Utah has always been wonderful for a lot of us players. So at the end of the day, we do battle, and that's how it is. But the state of Utah has been one of the best states to represent when we're outside of the state, if that makes sense.
It does. And from my prism, most of the coaches and players I've spoken with, and you referenced the Max Hall comments, and there are always comments here or there that don't reflect well on certain players or certain coaches, but it feels like most of the coaches and players actually very much respect each other, even though a lot of the fans, when it comes to the bad behavior online and in real life, it adds to the rivalry when certain fan members decide to act stupid. But it doesn't feel like most of the players and coaches share that real life animosity. It's more like sports hate. Is that fair?
Yes, that's all the way fair. And then when you think about it, sometimes you have fans that really don't know what it's like to compete. They don't know what it's like to compete and also respect your opponent. So then when you do get outside of the state of Utah, like I'll use us as an example. I know we're running on time, but when we played in the Sugar Bowl against Alabama, there was a lot of Team Down South fans that was supporting us, and they was watching and supporting us. And those are some of the fans that knows that the rivalry is bigger than life, because a lot of times people hear the state of Utah and they just like, state of Utah. But then when you throw in the two schools that's doing amazing work, and we're beating these big time schools, you got to put some respect on the state. So that's why some of the fans might not know that it's bigger than what it is than the in-state. And us football players, or us players and our sports players in general, we know this, that when we step outside the state of Utah, we're representing the state, not just representing the University of Utah or BYU. We're representing the state. So hopefully the fans can hear that and understand that, it's a war, but then we respect them, and we respect what the state has represented and what the state is putting together.
Is it possible to not want any good things to happen for BYU, yet cheer for your former defensive coordinator?
Yeah, that's how I've been every year. It's like
Okay.
I even glanced at some of the games, which is crazy. I glanced at some of the games, and I want Coach Tigers to always be successful. But then I
Yeah.
also have my mind in like, hey, this is still a team down south.
For sure. Hey, before I set you loose, tell me what success looks like in your mind for this game tomorrow night. When the players and the coaches are on the plane flying to Salt Lake, what has to happen for them to feel like mission accomplished?
The plan to win. Coach Witt has this plan to win. I think some of the fans, and I know he have spoke about it, so hopefully I'm not throwing out any secret tips, but the plan to win. You got to play great defense. You got to get turnovers. You got to score in the red zone, and you got to win special teams as well as win the fourth quarter. Those are like the 5 things to do to plan to win, and I believe in my heart that if we hit on all 5 of those, we should win the game. But even if we don't win the game, those 5 points will be the biggest thing that we need to focus on, because that will lead into the whole rest of the season, is trying to get those 5 plan to win points checked.
Rojo, where can people find you? Are you active on social? Is there a platform that you want people to go check you out at?
Well, I still use my Instagram, which is Robert L. Johnson 32. Still use that. I still post pictures and do things on there. Twitter or X. So somebody took my account, and I wound up just getting it back a couple of days ago. But I mean, I tell people that wants to meet up and talk business, or just meet up and have me talk to their kids, whatever it is, just go to my LinkedIn. It's Robert Rojo Johnson, and I love being able to try to help any of our fans, any of our future youths, any of our students. I just love being able to still show that I care about the state and everybody that's there.
Will you go speak to students at BYU?
Oh heck no, they no. I will say some curse words on there, but I'm not. But no, if there's a little kid that has a white shirt on, I tell them you got to turn that inside out before I even say anything to him. I'm that type of person. Yep.
All right, man. Well, look, safe travels. Thanks for the time, and always a pleasure. We'll chat soon, okay?
Thank you. Go
Former All-Mountain West Conference safety Robert Johnson, member of the 2008 undefeated team that beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. I was there for that, one of the most historic Utah football games of all time, played in the NFL as well. Appreciate Rojo's time today on this Friday afternoon, which is Christmas Eve for a lot of college football fans, as all 6 of our local D1 teams in action coming up tomorrow. All right, want to let you know that you can consult IFA's team of experts for your yard this season or any time of the year. Get ready for fall and winter with Step 4. More information online at IFA.coop or stop by one of the many Utah stores today. As always, IFA Country Stores, helping you grow the things that you love. We are live today with our friends at Tim Daly Infinity. The address is 4594 South State Street. A couple of things you need to know. Number one, they have tremendous credits right now for EV vehicles, but they go away at the end of September. So if you're interested in an EV vehicle, you can save literally thousands and thousands of dollars with their EV credits if you stop in today, but that goes away at the end of September. Also, Tim Daly has what they call a forever warranty, and that comes with all new and qualified used vehicles. Over 1,300 vehicles available. So you can visit one of Tim Daly's 7 locations today, and we're at the location. It's the Infinity location at 4594 South State Street. Come on by and say what's up. Vehicles priced to move. We're going to get back to the football conversation coming up in just a little bit. But coming up on the other side, we will do a little golf with our buddy Paul Pugmire, as the Ryder Cup selections were released this week. And the sales manager, correct, Cash? Is that your deal?
Sir, yep. Sales manager, Cash.
So Cash stops by here at Tim Daly Infinity at 4594 South State Street. All right, let's start, Cash, with these EV credits that are going away at the end of September. What do you want our listeners to know?
Oh, yeah, $4,000.
Okay.
Practically free money. Definitely something you don't want to miss out on. So get in here before they expire, and I'd recommend not waiting till the last minute. The inventory's going to get real slim. But it is expiring September 30th. So come in and take advantage of that $4,000.
So $4,000 credit for EV vehicles, but that's going away at the end of September. Also, every time I'm out here, and Koo's been a buddy of mine forever, we knew each other in college, the forever warranty just sounds fake. Like, it sounds too good to be true. I know that it's not, but every time he unpacks it, I'm like, wait a second, because he also points out that you guys don't really make money off of this.
No, we do not. Basically, our way of, I guess you could say, making money off it is it's going to bring people in.
Sure.
So, and it does work. It's something that, you cannot beat. How can you beat a lifetime warranty on a car, especially powertrain, turbos, engine, transmission covered for the life of the vehicle? Can't find that anywhere else.
Yeah, he also told me last time I was here, he told me like there were conversations about wanting it to go away, but the ownership group themselves said no. That's what makes us unique, right?
Absolutely.
So is it exactly what it sounds like? When it's a forever warranty, explain exactly what that is.
That's exactly what it is, forever warranty.
Yeah.
It's as long as you own the vehicle, just keep up with your routine maintenance, your manufacturer schedule, and it doesn't expire.
And we're talking used cars and then qualified used vehicles as well.
Absolutely, yep, new and used.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
under 60,000 miles in the last 6 years, as long as you're in those parameters.
Okay, so if a listener comes out here and they ask for cash, what can you do for them today?
I'll be able to save them cash on the vehicle,
There you go.
on future maintenance, in many different ways. So come down and see us.
Okay, buddy, thanks for stopping by. We'll have you back on again, okay? Cash, the general sales manager here at Tim Daly Infinity. The address is 4594 South State Street here in Salt Lake. Beautiful day, so hop in the car if you've been thinking about buying a new vehicle. The EV credits expire at the end of September. You can save $4,000 if you stop in before that. All right, we're going to get back to college football with Matt Stevens. We'll learn more about UCLA. Gordon Monson from the Tribune stops by to preview the weekend in college football. Then we will get to the 5 o'clock hour of the program. We'll say goodnight at 6, but we are going to do a little golf coming up on the other side with our buddy Paul Pugmire on a Friday edition of The Drive. So keep it right here on ESPN 700. All right, we got Matt Stevens stopping by today to learn more about the UCLA Bruins as we are one day away from kickoff tomorrow. Utah will be at the Rose Bowl. Don't forget, 9 o'clock kick, but our pregame coverage on the station will begin at 5 o'clock. Porter will have you taken care of there. And then we'll send it over to Bill, Scott, and Sly live in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. Gordon Monson, my old radio partner from the Salt Lake Tribune, will join us in the 4 o'clock hour. So you got plenty of football left. We're 1 week away, less than actually, for week 1 of the NFL. But a big week in the world of professional golf as Keegan Bradley revealed his 6 captains' picks, and he was not one of them for next month's Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black in Farmingdale, New York. And I'm sure that brought a smile to my next guest's face, Paul Pugmire, on a Friday afternoon. Paul, happy Friday, sir. How are you?
Good. I'm good. It's hard being right all the time, Spencer, but it's a burden I carry.
Well, Paul, okay, so if they go and they get smoked by the Europeans and Ben Griffin does not play well, we'll have a different conversation. But let me get your instant reaction when it was really interesting because I watched the announcement live, and the 48 hours leading up to the announcement, there were several people who I would call credible that were pontificating on the possibility of Keegan picking himself. And some believe that he should, and some believe that he would. And then Keegan takes the mic and says, no, this has been decided for a while. There was like a minute where maybe I would play, but I don't know if he's telling the truth. But he claimed that the 6 picks were the 6 picks that had been made for a little bit, and he was not really in contention. So give me your thoughts.
I definitely noticed that part of the whole announcement news conference, absolutely. And my first thought when he said that was, well, why didn't you say that, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, whenever? I think it would have been a really good idea to tell everybody, this is what we're going to do. But he chose not to. I absolutely think he made the right choice. I absolutely respect him for making that choice. I know with no doubt that he wants to be a Ryder Cup player. Of course he does. And I would be unsurprised to see him make future Ryder Cup teams. But he did the right thing for this year to focus on being the captain.
If he was not the captain, do you think he did enough? Like, let's say Zach is the captain again or whoever. If Keegan's not the captain, do you think another captain selects him as one of the picks?
Yeah, I do. And I know that starts to undermine the idea that he shouldn't play. But he agreed to be captain. PGA of America asked him. They chose him. He agreed to it. And at that point, you've got to focus on being captain. And it was the right thing. But he's really played well this year, which I admire. And with his win at the Travelers especially. And then, he's a Northeast guy. And so putting him playing at Bethpage would have been a cool thing, but he's the captain at Bethpage, and that's a really cool thing as well. But, yeah, Keegan Bradley's a great player, and I expect to see him in the mix for Ryder Cups going forward.
Okay, so moving over to the selections. Do you like the list? Were you surprised with any of the names? Give me your thoughts on Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Cam Young, Patrick Cantlay, and Sam Burns.
Good picks. It overlapped with my list by 5. Where I was different was I had Maverick McNeely instead of Sam Burns. But Sam Burns is a completely credible pick. He's a terrific player. He is statistically the best putter in the world. And he also is a close personal friend of Scotty Scheffler. And even though Bradley didn't really make a big point of this, he spoke in general terms of considering the team dynamics. But it makes total sense to me that one of the things you want to do as a captain is to say, okay, what can I do to make Scheffler the most comfortable and the most productive? And getting his best friend there would be a part of the discussion. So Burns is a completely credible pick, and there's going to be really good players who don't make the team, who don't get picked. It's always the case, and that's what happened to Maverick McNeely.
So there appears to be, and it's always hard to fully understand exactly what the feedback is about. I think people just don't like Cantlay, and I get it. He's somewhat irritating. He's very smug and he's very slow. But what I will say, Paul, is 2 years ago in Rome, when we got dog walked, Cantlay and Homa should have been the only two allowed on the charter home. Like, he played really, really well, and does seem to be the type of guy with a mentality that when the lights are brightest, then he could step up. But I think it's fair to say he has not had one of his best years on tour. Were you surprised that they went with Cantlay?
Not at all. Cantlay he would have been one of my picks as well. And he is a cold-hearted, cold-blooded assassin. And that's exactly what you want. This guy is John Wick. And you want him in an environment like the Ryder Cup, and doubly so at a place like Bethpage. And I went to the President's Cup last year, and I followed Cantlay, and he is annoying. He's exasperating. He is prickly. He's not warm and fuzzy. He plays slow. And then when he finally steps up and hits the shot, his swing is so simple, so unencumbered with extra movement that it is 100% reliable under pressure. And he makes that sound when he makes contact with the ball. He just has such pure contact. He is such a good player with the lights on. I want him on my team. I want all of his prickliness and all of his annoying factors on my team. And I think he's a great player, and he's going to do well. And just like you said, he delivered in Rome. I expect him to deliver at Bethpage.
What's your understanding? Because another thing that certain people have pointed to, and our buddy John Wright joined the show yesterday, and he talked about this. So in Rome, Cantlay wasn't wearing the hat. And the reports were he was mad they don't get paid. And everybody to a man denied any of that. And then there was the final thing where, like, JT was like, well, I'm not wearing a hat either. I thought it was really corny, to be honest with you. But what was that about? And should that have come into play at all? Because a lot of people were kind of offended, at least from what I understand.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of speculation. Cantlay never really addressed it, and so we don't really know. These players sell the real estate on their hat for a heck of a lot of money, and part of what was likely behind it is that you had to wear a USA team hat. You couldn't wear whatever's on the front. I think Titleist is on the front of Cantlay's hat now. I'm not sure, but it might be that he's saying, "Hey, I want to serve my sponsor," and you're telling me no, so screw you. The part about all this that really amazed me was that, have you ever had a sunburn on the top of your head? That's a special kind of hurt. I wouldn't want to go without a hat.
It's true, and most of these golfers, including Cantlay and JT, their hairline is going because they wear hats their entire life. So,
I know, and then you get the Stewart Sink suntan. You don't want that.
Right. But, Paula, I did read that, the Ryder Cup doesn't offer prize money, but each of the golfers on Team USA, they receive $500,000. Now, $300,000 of that does go to charity. The European players don't get anything. So they do receive some money, right? I mean, it's not like they're doing it without getting paid at all.
That's correct. And I don't know exactly what the break is, but absolutely PGA of America makes significant donations to a charity of choice for each of the players, each of the captains. There is also compensation for the caddies and all the support staff, as well there should be. The reality is that the Ryder Cup is one of the biggest cash machines in the world of sport, and traditionally the players have played simply for pride. Golf is a very tradition-bound world, and change like this will be slow to come.
All right, moving over to the European side of things, we've got Rory McIlroy, Bob McIntyre, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Rasmus Højgaard, and Tyrrell Hatton as the automatic qualifiers. Any thoughts on what we'll hear from Luke Donald coming up on Monday for his 6 picks?
Yeah, they're not as deep when you get past the top six. The top six over for the European squad are so good. You look, we know those names, especially McElroy and Hatton. Everybody should be paying attention to Robert McIntyre. This kid has game. He is the real deal, and I'm telling you right now, he will win a Masters. The captain's picks, it's really interesting. Like I say, they're not as deep on the European side, and so McDonald will have some hard work to do there. We have seen players like Christian Bezuidenhout from that get picked. We've seen players that you just are not household names. Then they go over there and deliver. This Wallace guy is a pretty solid player on the European Tour. Not a household name in America. You've got Alex Noren. He's one I'd expect to see in the mix. They have a really they have a way that I've never been able to crack the code on. I'm not sure how they're doing it, but they have a way of getting these second-tier players to show up at the Ryder Cup and really perform. It'll be interesting to see how they do this year.
So let me just read the next six players, and it feels like it could just be these six, to be honest with you, because Shane Lowry's 7th, and I feel like you got to go with Shane.
Yes.
Sepp Straka is 8. Now, I don't know how healthy he is, but I feel like if he's healthy, that's a name. Ludwig is 9. I mean, he's a lock. I feel like he is. Victor Hovland is 10, and I also feel like after what he did in Rome 2 years ago, he's got to go. And then Matt Fitzpatrick is 11. Then it's Matt Wallace. It might just be those 6, Paul.
It might well be. And there's the Wallace guy I was thinking of. Ludwig Oberg, you're so right. You have to take that player. He's just so good. And one of the reasons, it goes back to the Patrick Cantlay stuff. Oberg's swing is simple and without extra motion. And those are the swings that stand up under pressure. And so he's one that you absolutely have to take as well. You pick those 6. That would make sense to me.
All right, let's move over to the portion of our weekly conversation which should be entitled Paul Teaches Spence About the History of Golf, because I just I didn't play it growing up, as we talked about. I thought it was boring. I never really watched it outside of a Sunday with a major championship if Tiger was there or whatever. And I really haven't covered it until the past 2 or 3 years when I really started playing and started becoming very interested in it. So the history of the Ryder Cup is something that I've started to learn about a little bit. The Golf Channel just does a great job with all these documentaries as far as, the dominance of the U.S. early on, and it was U.S. Great Britain. And then it was U.S. Europe when the U.S. continued to smash just the Brits, and I guess that change was made in the late 70s. But what I was surprised to learn is that while the U.S. leads the all-time series 27-15-2, Europe has won 8 of the last 11. I didn't know that until this week. Why have the Europeans been able to not just even the playing field but dominate this tournament for the past 11 tries?
There's a couple of reasons. First of all, the move to include the Europeans was Jack Nicklaus's idea, which was both a gracious and foresightful action for him to take. And it was designed specifically to get Seve Ballesteros from Spain and Bernhard Langer from Germany, 2 of the great players of our time and two of the real rising stars at the time. And so we wanted to bring those kinds of players into this mix. And so once you open it up to the very top 1 or 2 players of each country, so each country has its own player development system, whatever it is, and each country produces their top number 1 player. In Germany, it was Bernhard Langer. In Spain, it was Seve Ballesteros. And now we look at Norway has given us Victor Hovland, and Sweden has given us Ludwig Oberg. And so you take the very top player from each of these countries and however it is they produce their top player, and bring them all together under a European flag, and it's this all-star traveling team of Little League Baseball players, that just dominates. And then they have a secret sauce, a magic ingredient that, like I say, nobody outside of Europe has ever really been able to fully explain or understand, and certainly the Americans haven't been able to duplicate it, and that is they get 100% investment and commitment from all these players for that week to this objective, and they really step up. I'm not sure how they do it, but they do. And they play as a unit, and they play for each other, and they play. It might be as simple as playing to beat the Americans, but they play to beat the Americans, and they've been very good at it.
So Rome was the first Ryder Cup I watched. And by watch, I mean like I was glued to it. The Ryder Cups in the past, you kind of tune in here or there. And even through the TV, Paul, there's something about this event that is just so different than, not just any golf tournament. It feels like on par with like a big UEFA Champions League game or a college football playoff game. The passion and intensity, even through the TV, is palpable. What sort of context can you add? What type of passion and energy will fans at Bethpage experience with this?
The best analogy I've heard about the Ryder Cup, and first of all, everything you're saying is 100% true, but why? And what else is there that will help us understand it? And the best one I've heard is World Cup, and that's even more than Olympics. The thing that's interesting about Olympics is, we cheer for third place, and we're happy to cheer for people from other countries. But in the World Cup, there's only winning, and in the Ryder Cup, there's only winning, and you cheer for your country, and you just don't care about anybody else. And that's what happens in the Ryder Cup. It gets so intense. There is a connection that people make to this event that is visceral, and it comes through. It is really fun to be a part of. It's really fun to see.
All right, last thing I'll set you loose on this. Another thing that I've learned watching the run up to the Ryder Cup coverage on Golf Channel, and maybe I just should have known this, but there was an episode that was European centric, so they interviewed Luke Donald and a bunch of his vice captains, and they pontificated on the possibility of the Americans being able to set up Bethpage in a way that caters to their play. And maybe I should have known that. I just didn't know that you had like a home course advantage. What does that mean, and what sort of approach can the U.S. take to setting up the course to make sure their players are in the best position to succeed?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. The home team is in charge of course setup, which is unique in the world of high-stakes tournament golf. In every other situation, a tournament committee, a sponsoring organization sets up the course. Augusta National sets up its own course. The USGA sets up wherever the U.S. Open is. This past year, the USGA set up Oakmont, not the Oakmont local country club itself. In this case, the host team is in charge of course setup. That means that you can do things like fairway widths, green speeds, rough lengths, where rough is mowed around a green versus, do you have a closely mown surround, or do you have a heavy rough surround? And you can cater it to the particular playing characteristics of your team, and you can also pick team members based on it. One of the things that went south in Rome, to be candid, is that the American side brought in a lot of bombers, and the Europeans narrowed down the fairways and grew up the rough. And so bombers on a course like that are at a disadvantage. If they're missing the fairway by a foot, it's at least a half a stroke, and that can make a difference in an event like the Ryder Cup very quickly. So you can cater the course to the playing characteristics of your team.
What's coming up on the show tomorrow, Paul?
Well, we had this past week, Darren Overson from Orem became just the second player in Utah golf history to, in his career, win the State Am, the Mid Am, and then this week the Senior Am. We're going to be talking with Darren about all that, and we're also going to start previewing college golf. College golf's right around the corner. I understand they're going to be playing some college football as well, and I am looking forward to hearing you talk to Gordon Monson, but college golf is getting started here in the next couple weeks too.
Paul, thank you, sir, for the time. Have a great show tomorrow, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you, Spencer.
All right, that's your Uinta Golf PGA Tour update. You can unleash your swing with Ping G440 woods and irons crafted for precision and power. The G440 driver and irons deliver faster ball speeds with incredible control plus enhanced forgiveness at Uinta Golf. We are live today at Tyndall Infinity. It is 4594 South State Street, and the general sales manager, Cash, stops by once again. Cash, how are you, bud?
Doing great. How you guys doing today?
Doing well. So we've got just a few weeks left for listeners to take advantage of your EV credits. Let's start there. Tell us about that.
Yes, September 30th. That is the last day you'll be able to save $4,000 on any plug-in hybrid or electric vehicle. So you'll definitely want to take advantage of that, and I will tell you, they are going fast. So I wouldn't wait till the last minute to come in and get one. You're going to have pretty slim pickings and kind of end up with, the last one. So I would get in as soon as you can. September 30th, that does expire. Once again, it's $4,000 EV rebate. So,
is there a qualification process, or is it just automatically applied right now?
So there are a few things you'll need to qualify, so we can go over that here in store. You can look it up. It's the 25E IRS rebate. Basically, there's some income restrictions, a couple things like that.
Gotcha.
But other than that, most everybody should apply.
Okay, also, your staple here, and as I said before, every time I'm out here on remote and Koo kind of unpacks this, I'm like, that sounds too good to be true. It is the forever warranty. It's a Tim Dolly staple. Explain what that means.
Yes, forever warranty. So it means exactly what it says. It is a warranty that does not expire. It lasts forever, to quote Sandlot. So let's watch that, my son. So,
nice.
But, it's one of those things you want you to have the peace of mind on a vehicle, that just knowing you're covered for the cost of those major mechanical breakdowns, and we're happy to provide it. So it's something that definitely helps bring customers in. It's very unique, and it's what sets us apart. So come do business with us.
And it comes with every new car, then qualified used vehicles as well.
Yes,
Before
sir.
I say you lose for this hit, looks like you got something for everybody. If you've got a teenager that's about to get the license, and as a father, I can tell you that teenager is going to wreck the car probably. There's going to be some dents. There's going to be some scratches. You've got something for the teenager. You got something for mom or dad driving a bunch of kids around. Then obviously we're at Infinity. You have very high-end vehicles as well.
Yes, sir. We've got it all, honestly. We've got an incredible used selection, and we're part of the Tim Dolly Auto Group. I mean, right here on this corner, we've got over 1,300 vehicles to choose from. So, huge selection. Definitely going to be able to find something you love.
All right, Cash. Thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Thank you.
Come on out and see us and ask for Cash. He's a good dude. He's going to help you out. And as he said last hit, his name is Cash. He will save you cash. It's 4594 South State Street. Our good friends at Tim Dolly Infinity. Just to review, as of now, there's a $4,000 credit and rebate on EV vehicles. It expires at the end of September. They do have the forever warranty on all new and qualifies used cars as well. So it is Tim Dolly Infinity. It's 4594 South State Street. Come on by and say what's up. We got 2 hours down. We got 2 hours to go. Coming up on the other side, Matt Stevens from the UCLA broadcast team will join us. Then it's time for a little Gordon Monson, my former radio partner from the Tribune. We'll get into the 5 o'clock hour of the show, then bid you a good weekend at 6 on a Friday show right here on ESPN 700. We are 25 hours away, or to be more specific, 24 hours and 54 minutes away from our first Utah football broadcast. Our pregame coverage begins tomorrow at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. Kickoff is 9 o'clock Mountain Time. It's going to be a late night tomorrow as Utah takes on UCLA. Our next guest, friend of the program, former UCLA quarterback and now a color analyst for the broadcast team. It's Matt Stevens on a Friday afternoon. Matt, happy Friday, sir. How are you?
Happy Friday. I can't wait for tomorrow night. A little bit of a late game, but very excited. I mean, this is going to be an important game for both teams.
It is, Matt, and I am hoping that you can educate us on this UCLA Bruin football team in a way that nobody has been able to so far, including your broadcast partners. I say that respectfully because it just feels like there is a brand new vibe. There are a lot of new players, and there are a lot of new coaches. And it's not exclusive to UCLA. It's just the modern day and age of college football. It's a sport, as you know, that's always been really difficult to predict, and even more so now with a group of new players. But what have you learned about Deshaun Foster's team this year? What is Utah up against tomorrow night?
Well, it's a new offensive coordinator, Tino Sunseri. Tino comes from Indiana, where he was the co-offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate right now. He's got a lot of new players. He's got a star quarterback. He's had to put together an offense, and this is his first time being an offensive coordinator. So he's going to be really tested going against probably, of course, one of the best defensive coordinators to ever be in that position, Morgan Scalley. So it's going to be a tough task for him. I think Jason Beck, the new offensive coordinator for Utah, has much more of an advantage bringing his quarterback, running back, and wide receiver from New Mexico.
So Nico Iamaleava, it was a massive national story as he transferred from Tennessee to UCLA. The reports with the money are what they are. And, I got to say, Matt, and we talked about this on a couple of different occasions, I don't know the kid at all, but when I've heard him interviewed, he comes across as a very thoughtful, nice young man. It's funny how college football and the money that's intertwined in the sport now has turned a lot of people off to players or coaches or whatever. It's part of the deal. Like, go get your bag. Go get what you can. He also is closer to home. We know what he did a year ago. What have been your impressions after getting to know him both as a kid and as a player?
Well, first of all, he's a winner. I mean, he's very competitive.
Yep.
He's very competitive with his brother, too, who also came from Arkansas. They compete all the time at that quarterback position. And he's accountable. He's a leader. He sort of has some star power. All the players respect him. And why wouldn't they? I mean, he's the hardest worker on the field. He's got a, cannon of an arm. He can see over the middle of the field. He can throw up from the hash mark all the way to the far sideline. He's a willing runner. That's surprising for a guy that's 6'6", but, he'll lower his shoulder pads and get after it. I really like him. I think he's going to be highly successful when this season starts.
Now, one thing I can tell you, and we have a lot of questions about the Utes. We have limited access to practice, and like UCLA, it's a new quarterback, it's two new running backs, it's a new offensive coordinator. What's not new, Matt, is this offensive line with two star tackles, two first-round NFL-type talents, a center who's a captain on the team, and then Michael Mokafisi, who nobody talks about, has started 33 games. So Utah will roll into the Rose Bowl tomorrow night with one of the best offensive lines in the Big 12 and maybe even one of the best offensive lines in the country. I've read that UCLA has rebuilt their secondary, but it sounds like you've got some returning players that may have been injured a year ago on the defensive front. How do you anticipate UCLA's front matching up with Utah's offensive line?
Well, UCLA, they've turned into a Big Ten team. I mean, they got some big guys, 330, 340 on the defensive tackle spot. Anthony Jones is going to come in and be an edge rusher. He's going to get tested, of course, against the two Outland Trophy candidates at tackle for Utah. It's an advantage for Utah to have Devin Tambier because he's a guy that can improvise. So play breaks down. He's going to be able to take off. He's going to be able to run. And this is the first game of the year. I mean, it's not, we're mid-season form or at the end of the season. You want a quarterback like that in this situation. The first game's always tough. There's going to be some missed assignments. And that's just the way it is. I think the secondary of UCLA has totally changed for the good. I mean, they got some speed at corner. Guys that are very fast, running like 10-2, 10-3. I think they're very good at the corner position, so that's going to enable their safeties to come up to the line of scrimmage and stop the run.
On the other side, Utah did lose some talent to the draft, some linebackers, and they also lost a defensive tackle to BYU and Kiana Tanavasa. But it's a positional group, and certainly Coach Wade and Morgan Scalley have earned the benefit of the doubt for their defense year in and year out. They like a lot of the young players they'll have that will try to get after Nico. I read that 3 of the offensive linemen for the Bruins are transfers, and you've got a couple of returners. So talk to me about the group that will be protecting Nico and opening up holes for the 2 new running back transfers.
Well, I think Javian Thomas is going to be really the key to the game. You get a nickname either Rocket or Jet, and his nickname is Jet. It's for a reason. He's very quick. He's able to bounce it to the outside, and when he gets into the secondary, I mean, he's gone. UCLA has 4 running backs that can play, and they're all very good. But Javian Thomas, I think, is going to be a difference maker. UCLA was not successful running the ball last year, 86 yards per game. They have to run the ball to have any success. And Tito Sanseri has really emphasized the run game. I'm thinking that UCLA is going to come out and they're going to try and pound it if they can. And the offensive line, there's some guys that are transferred in and they're question marks, but they're all big too. I mean, you're talking 330, 340, 320. I mean, UCLA has really changed the body mass at the line of scrimmage. That's what Deshaun Foster wanted. And on the outside, Quasi Gilmore is going to be the go-to guy for Nico. I mean, he's a guy that can run over the middle, get open on the outside. He's a deep threat. He's going to be the playmaker in the passing game.
Tell me your impressions of Deshaun Foster year 2. I thought he got a lot of grief for his initial media hit that I always perceived to be a little unfair. Like, Nick Sirianni's introductory press conference was not great. They won a Super Bowl. Like, okay, maybe you don't win the initial press conference. Obviously a hell of a player, great talent. But year 2, Deshaun Foster, I don't know if you would characterize it as growth. What are your impressions of UCLA's head coach?
Well, first of all, when Deshaun Foster didn't have a great media day at the Big Ten Media Day, he didn't shy away from it. He sort of embraced it. Hey, you know what? I made a mistake. And that's him owning up to it. And I think his players really respected that. The players like him. I mean, he's a player coach. He's perfect for the NIL portal world. He communicates very well with them. But what people don't really know, he's a hard ass. I mean, he's a guy that's going to get up early in the morning. He's going to call you out. He sees things. He's very accountable with his coaches. The players don't get away with anything, and it's very detailed by Deshaun Foster. I mean, tuck your shirt in, make sure you shower before we go have lunch after practice. Those are the little things that most coaches overlook, not Deshaun Foster. I mean, this guy's got a big-time future at UCLA.
So we had your broadcast cohorts on this week, and I'm going to ask you the same question I asked them. And it's still so weird, Matt, that we're talking about UCLA in the Big Ten and Utah in the Big 12, and no longer Pac-12 foes and Pac-12 partners. But it feels like there will be a sizable Ute fan contingency there tomorrow night. Based off of some of the road trip options, you could do a lot worse than Southern Cal. What sort of UCLA presence will be there? What sort of atmosphere are we in for as far as the crowd tomorrow night?
I think it's going to be a pretty sizable crowd. I mean, it's obviously not going to be a sellout at the Rose Bowl. It holds like 85,000, but there's going to be a lot of Bruin fans there because of Nico. I mean, he's that star power, and I think this is a very important game, and the UCLA fan base understands, that Deshaun Foster did a lot in the portal. 36 guys that transferred in, 27 true freshmen. There's just really a changing of the guard at UCLA, and I think it's been for the better. People are excited about UCLA football. And, like I said, I mean, this is a really important game for both schools because I think both schools, whoever wins this game can go 3-0 and then have to play a really tough game at home. And that game for Utah, Texas Tech, and for UCLA, it would be Penn State, the 4th game of the year.
What flipped last year over the final 6 games, and is there anything we can learn from it? I mean, again, the difficulty in college football has always been changeover and has always been analyzing how young people are just going to adapt to life, and now it's different. So I know that the majority of the staff and a lot of the players are gone, but after a rough start, y'all did win 4 of the final 6 with some good conference games. Is there anything that you can learn from that, and what changed?
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, UCLA, they're 1-5. They're at Rutgers. They're playing a game where everybody's expecting them to lose, and the team's just going to be a total flop, maybe not even get another win the rest of the season. That was a big-time win by UCLA, and I even texted Sean Foster afterwards and congratulated him because it's hard to keep a team together when you're 1-5, and he did that, and the players sort of bought into him. And I also think there were some guys on the defensive side of the ball. Let's not forget, 4 guys got drafted from last year's team that really stepped up their game. One of those guys was Carson Schlesinger that went to the Browns. UCLA is going to have to replace those guys, but I think they have, the guys right now on defense that can pick it up and where those guys left off.
Tell me how the Big Ten experience has been for you, Matt. I mean, obviously you played in the Pac, and Utah was in the Pac with UCLA for a while. And some interesting reports this week from Brett McMurphy and Andy Staples that they've been told by athletic directors in the Big Ten. I believe Brett specifically said it was the Maryland athletic director that they really do want to expand. Now, that's not till 2030. TV deals have to expire and such. But, of course, Ute fans around here and anybody who understands the landscape of college football, with due respect to the Big 12, if the Big 10 comes calling, you take the phone call, you jump if you have the opportunity. If for no other reason, the revenue is just much greater in the Big 10. So you've had a little bit of a sample size now as a Big 12 athletic department in school. What's it been like so far for you?
Well, the Big Ten, I mean, it's fun going to these stadiums and you see in the turnout, all the fans that come to the game. UCLA had a game at Penn State, and, 105,000 people, they're there, 3-4 hours before the game. It's what football's all about. I mean, they have a great tradition. UCLA, I think, is very welcome to be in, this conference. And they're going to do a little bit of a change this year when it comes to travel. They're going to go out on a Thursday instead of going out on a Friday. It's hard. You lose 3 hours when you go back east, so I think that's going to be important for UCLA, at least to get a day, to adjust to the weather, the climate, the time, and then play the game on Saturday. That's a good move by Sean Foster, but it's just been awesome. I love going all over the place, and I'm sure all the players like going all over the place, playing in front of big crowds, all the challenges. It's been a great move, but I do miss the Pac-12. The longest trip that we used to have in the Pac-12 was going to Seattle and Washington. Last year, that was the closest trip UCLA football had.
Yeah, and I've been honest, and I have been painted as a snob. I miss the Pac-12 for a lot of reasons, but namely the footprint, the lack of traveling across the country, and also just the markets, whether it's Seattle, L.A., Portland, whatever it is, and now it's just a different landscape. Do you have any insider thoughts on the future of the Big Ten Conference and whether or not you're hearing that maybe expansion would be on the table in a few years?
Well, I mean, obviously football continues to change. And, I wouldn't be surprised, there becomes 2 or 3 big conferences. And the way that maybe even they start sharing money when teams go into the college football playoff and structure it like Deion Sanders was suggesting. I mean, there's so many things that are going to happen in the next couple of years when it comes to college football. I think it has to be regulated a little bit when it comes to NIL and, because all these small teams, you don't want them going away, and that's what could happen.
Vegas over under UCLA 5.5, Matt. Do you feel like that's about right? Do you feel like they can go over? What are your thoughts? And obviously they need 6 for a bowl game. Do you think the Bruins can go over that 5.5 number?
Well, I mean, let's face it, Utah, they got to have some consistent play at quarterback. And Dan Pierre, I like him. I've watched him on film. He's got a live arm. He is sometimes a little bit careless with the football. And that was surprising with Utah last year, how careless they were with it. That's not a Kyle Whittingham team. I do think this is going to be a brawl. I mean, I think both teams are going to come out bloodied. I don't even think it's going to be a 1 or 2 point victory by either team. And to me, just pick them. I think it's going to come down to the end. And it could be a field goal or what. It's going to be a late score.
Well, Matt, I appreciate the time. It's great to have college football back. It's fun to start it out with an old Pac-12 peer, so enjoy the game tomorrow night. Safe travels, and I'd love to get you back on soon, okay?
All right. Thanks a lot. Good luck tomorrow night.
All right, Matt Stevens, former quarterback for the Bruins, played for a little bit in the NFL as well. Now he's their color analyst on the broadcast side of things. And it is here, Utah UCLA. Tomorrow night, we will start our pregame coverage at 5 o'clock here on the station, and then kickoff will be at 9 o'clock. So get ready to stay up late with Bill, Sean, and Sly. Utah's a 5.5-point favorite at the Rose Bowl. All right, we're live today with our friends at Tim Dahle Infinity at 4594 South State Street. Come on by and say hi. And their general sales manager, Cash, joins us once again. Cash, how are you, bud?
Oh, I'm doing good.
So,
Glad to have you guys here.
So it's an apropos nickname because your name is Cash, and right now you're saving people a lot of cash, namely with EV rebates. So let's hear about those.
Absolutely. Yep, like you heard, the rebate's going to save you $4,000 cash right now. It's only good till September 30th. It's when they expire, so you've got 1 month left to get in and take advantage of that. It applies to EVs and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles as well. So come see us. Let us know what we can do. We're here giving out crazy deals, and you'll get forever warranty on each one.
And you referenced early, don't wait to do this, because if you wait until the last minute, the inventory is going to be very limited, yeah?
Very, very limited. We've got less than a month, so you definitely want to get in. Don't be one of the last ones to show up and check it out, because we've got the electric vehicles flying off the shelves. We're selling so many, it's insane. So get in before you miss out.
4594 South State Street. And you referenced there are a bunch of locations, right? Obviously we want people to come here, but there are 7 locations, yeah?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Stop by any one of those. All good. All right, before I set you loose, you guys have a staple with the Tim Dahle Auto Group, and it is the Forever Warranty. I don't know that anybody else offers this, so tell us what it is.
It's one of a kind, Forever Warranty here at Tim Dahle only. So come in, take advantage of that. It's a warranty that, like it sounds, does not expire. It lasts forever. So it's going to cover most of the main components on your car, engine, transmission, all internally lubricated parts. Something you'll definitely want to take advantage of.
And this is new cars and qualified used cars, correct?
Use, exactly.
Okay, buddy. Good to see you. We'll chat again. All right, Cash, the general sales manager out here at Tim Dahle Infinity. It's 4594 South State Street. ESPN 700 van is right out front. Easy to find us. Come on in, say what's up, and grab one of these great vehicles priced to move. College football is here. Were you able to watch all the games last night? Are you ready to watch them all weekend? We are 6 days away from the NFL as well. If you don't have Dish and you're a sports fan, I can just promise you you're doing it wrong, because I did it wrong for years. With the great promotions right now, you can save a ton of money, make the switch. You can save money on internet as well with our friends at the Dish Pros at 801-424-DISH. What's going on, Ryan?
Well, Spence, I'm super excited today because Dish just gave me another extra deal that I can throw in, and I'm very excited about this. But talk about basically what Dish's promotion is right now. If you get set up, you get the 2-year promotional credits. The price is guaranteed for those 2 years. It's not going to change. We're going to throw in Showtime, Paramount Plus free for 4 months. A little cool one is we got the NFL Red Zone free for 6 months, which includes the multi-sports pack. The really awesome one is we've got an offer where you can get Dish's top package. This is the very, very top package. So you got everything free for the next 3 months. And then we just got announced today that if you sign up with Dish, you can get the NFL Red Zone for 50% off of what the advertised price is through Dish. And it does work through Dish because YouTube is like a channel, so you have full access. So this really gives you a massive extra. So 50% off deal when you get set up. You can get the NFL Red Zone if you're really need more than the NFL Sunday ticket. So and the NFL Red Zone isn't enough, you want the ticket? There you go. Sign up with Dish. It's going to save you another few $100s. So this is an easy way to save thousands of dollars. Call us up. Take advantage of this. If your current provider is not providing you what you need, or the bill just keeps going up, well, everybody's bill just keeps going up. That's just part of the deal. We got the rate increases just recently from YouTube, and they got more rate increases coming for cable and DirecTV customers. But listen, you can take advantage of this offer. Even if you have YouTube TV, this is a no-brainer. You take advantage of this offer. Get $200 off the NFL Sunday ticket. Get 3 months free. You get movie channels. You get the biggest DVR that never deletes your recordings. Have full access to it. And we'll have you installed for free and throw in dinner at JCW's. Great opportunity to take advantage and get your TV set up the right way. Plus, ask about our internet options. We have over 7 different internet providers at our fingertips. Companies that you would go, well, they probably don't offer this one. We do. Call us up. We've got them all, and we can line you up with the best package and price. So if your current provider is charging more than $60-$70 a month, even if it's fiber, you can just pay another company and use the same fiber in some instances. So call us 424-DISH. It's 801-424-3474.
It's Ryan from the Dish Professionals. We'll catch a break and we'll bring in Gordon Monson coming up on the other side of a Friday edition of The Drive right here on ESPN 700. So a bunch of great vehicles priced to move. For 7 years, I used to do remotes like this with a friend sitting next to me, sometimes in the snow where we had to run into Walmart and buy sweatshirts, sometimes in Logan at a Big O Tires where we had to leave 4 hours early. He no longer sits next to me, but he's good enough to join me from time to time. The very, let's see, well, I will say influential Gordon Monson from the Salt Lake Tribune. Gordon, is that a fair adjective to describe you, influential?
Probably old is better, but I'll take influential if I can get it.
How you been, my friend?
Good, man. It's been a while, but it's good to be back with you.
Well, and it's good to have you on the show on the Friday before the start of college football. So let's get into it. Let's start with the Utes, who find themselves at the Rose Bowl tomorrow night for a 9 o'clock kick against UCLA, where they're a 5.5-point favorite. Before we get to the specific game, Gordon, whether it's conversations you've had with coaches or things you've been hearing, what gives you the most confidence, I guess is how I'll say it, that year 2 in the Big 12 will be better than year 1 of the Big 12 was for Utah football?
Kyle Whittingham's love for his new quarterback. I think that's a big part of it. Kyle really likes this kid. And you can go back and look at his film and see both reasons for optimism for the Utes and reasons for concern. For instance, 2 different scenarios. If a game is on the line and the Utes get the ball, say, on their own 20-yard line, can he march that team, that offense down the field to get the score that's necessary if they're, say, down 4 or something? Can he do that? That I don't know about. But one thing I am pretty confident about is that with his ability to run and throw, if you're in the red zone, that becomes very difficult for a team to stop, for a defense to stop. And I think this kid has the capability to pose that kind of threat for an opposing defense. Because if you roll him out, Spence, you know how difficult it would be to stop a kid like that who has that duality to his game. And this kid does have that. I just don't know what happens if teams load up on him because they're afraid he's going to run. He rushed for all those yards at New Mexico. Will he be able to do that with the Utes and mix it up proportionate to what is good offense? And I don't know. I think that Kyle thinks he can do that and thereby is very excited about what the Utes might be able to do offensively this time around versus what happened last year.
Tell me your confidence level as it pertains to balance with the offense, because to your point, Devin can really run. And, we know the deal with this offensive line. They've got 2 of the best tackles in America, and they've got all 5 starters returning. And I don't mean to sound overly skeptical or cynical, but Devin's numbers through the air last year were not very good. And until I see something, I don't mean to go Missouri show me state, but until I see something, I just can't accurately analyze what we have at our disposal. I know nothing about these wide receivers. And we can only rely upon the data we have at our disposal. Part of me, and you've talked about this for years, Kyle's preference of, 3-yard, cloud of dust, run the football, don't turn the ball over, we'll beat you on defense type stuff. But I think, Gordon, in the modern day and age, and, we'll see how the Big 12 plays out, you're going to have to throw it, and you're going to have to find success through the air. Do you think we will see a good, balanced offensive attack from Utah football this year?
That's Whittingham's intention. He said it. He said it multiple times that he wants an offense that's balanced. And what is balanced? 50-50. So can they do that, or will they be running the ball so much that it becomes predictable? He wants it to be 50-50. So we'll see if Devin Dampier is capable of doing that. And you mentioned those wide receivers. You're right. That's a foggy position. I mean, will they be able to do what's necessary to get the job done? That's the question. I think the Utes will be able to run the ball. And you mentioned that offensive line. Those guys, and they can grade road. And I think they will be able to run it. But can they balance it with the other? It's a great question, Spence, and one that should be asked.
Well, and it's interesting. At Big 12 Media Days, Coach Witt hopped on the show and dropped the news that Lander Barton and Smith Snowden will be playing some offense this year. And it was met with a lot of, I think, excitement on one hand, but part of me, Gordon, like it kind of had my antennas going a little bit. So ultimately, Morgan was asked about this last week, and Morgan was on the show last week as well. Actually, that was this week. I'm also aging, just so you know. And Morgan said exactly what you would expect. Like, we want our athletes to be in the right position to help us win. Lander and Smith are so vital defensively that part of me wonders if this is a good idea. And then the other part of me wonders, like, is this an indictment on the lack of playmakers on offense, or is it just a compliment to the type of athletes Smith and Lander are? And I honestly don't know what the answer is, but what are your thoughts?
You summed it up perfectly there, Spence. Is it good news or is it bad?
Yeah.
We don't know. We'll see. This is a beautiful thing about Utah having to face UCLA on the road in game one. We're going to find all this out real quick. And if they were playing an FCS team, we still wouldn't know based on what we see. Not really. Well, we're going to find out automatically tomorrow night at the Rose Bowl. I don't know those things. Who do you think of immediately when you think of two-way players at Utah? Who comes to mind?
Well, let's see. Two-way
Eric
players
Weddle.
that you. Oh, I was gonna. Yeah, I guess Weddle's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that comes to my mind. And so when I hear about using players on both sides of the ball, I wonder, that could be really good, or it could be a sign of desperation. But Kyle wants the offense. The offense last year was so pathetic, Spence. And look, injuries come into play. There's all kinds of stuff going on there. But this time around, they have to have that be what they want it to be in order to come close at all to their goal. And their goal is to win the freaking conference.
Tell me what your heart and your head tells you about where Kyle is at. As somebody who's known him for a long, long time, and somebody, when we were doing the show back in the day, you often referenced Kyle's own comments about his father's untimely passing and how he never really wanted to be a coaching lifer. Now, here's the thing. I mean, Kyle takes incredible care of himself, and he was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I ran into him a few times, one at Big 12 Media Day. He looks good. He sounds good. Feels like he's energized. He's simply a head coach that is under contract and has certainly earned the right to coach as long as he wants to, as long as he feels like it makes sense. There have been more than a few people, both on the show and then off air, that have alluded to the fact they feel like this is actually the last dance. And if it does go better this year than it did a year ago, maybe Coach Wood feels like he's leaving the program in a better place for Morgan to take over. Does your gut have a feel one way or the other if this is the last dance for Coach Witt?
Yeah, I think he wants to make up for what happened last year, but I don't think that's the only thing. I think he does sense in this team a feeling that they can do something special, and he wants to see that through. He never wanted to coach into old age, however you define what old age is. He's 65 years old, he'll be 66 in November. I think we're nearing the end here. Is it this year? Yeah, it very well could be. But even those who are closest to him don't really know for sure what his plan is. I think his family, quite frankly, loves the fact that he coaches, loves the fact, it's a pretty cool deal to have dad or grandpa or uncle, running the freaking football program at Utah. I mean, that's a cool deal, and I think the family enjoys that. And he says the main reason he came back is because he enjoys it. He said he wouldn't do it if he didn't, and I believe him when he says that. He's made enough money. He's got all kinds of cash. And he loves money. Kyle does. He's got investments. He's got investments in Hawaii. He's got real estate. He's got enough of that. And quite frankly, he's got enough of the praise that comes with being a good coach. His problem is that he's still really good at it. And, it's hard to walk away from, something that you're really good at. Well, will he this year? I think it's almost certain to be this year or next.
When it comes to the dynamic of Morgan Scally, it's interesting. The coach in waiting moniker has been used before, and there have been plenty of times where it hasn't worked out because a coach, he gets a little antsy. He's like, well, wait a second, I want my opportunity. And if you get a good opportunity, and look, Morgan is a Utah's man. I don't think he's itching to leave, but I wonder if he's itching to coach. I wonder if he's itching to move over one seat. He's still very young. In his early I think Morgan's 43, 44 thereabouts. So it's not like he is on some sort of clock. But I just wonder whether or not Morgan's ready to kind of have his shot at this thing.
He definitely is. He wants to move from the right pilot seat to the left.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do. And that's the one thing about Kyle sticking around longer than people expect, because Morgan is there. Morgan is prepared. Morgan, as you know, Spence, you know him very well. He's smart. He's experienced. He's ready to take the wheel. And so how long will he stick around? I think Kyle is delegating more to Morgan. He's giving him he's consulting with him on darn near everything. And so there is a partnership there. But at some point, hey, Coach, budge over, man. Let me in. Let me do it. And that's where Morgan is right now.
Do you have any insight on how involved Morgan was during the process that landed them on Jason Beck? I would imagine he had to have input.
Oh, yeah. Kyle isn't doing hard. And this is funny, coming from a guy who has been so adamant about certain decisions of the past, and he's been kind of bullheaded about certain things. I think he's sharing almost everything with Morgan now.
All right. Before we get over to BYU, and I'll intertwine BYU into this question. BYU has Portland State in Provo tomorrow. Portland State had 42 points hung on them by Tarleton State at home. Okay, so that's BYU's first game. We'll learn nothing about BYU. It'll be interesting to see Bear, but we'll get there in a moment. Utah's first challenge is at the Rose Bowl against a UCLA team that there are more questions than answers, which is just the nature of the new normal of college football. 36 transfers, 27 incoming freshmen for the Bruins, but they are a Big Ten team with a pedigree and a history at the one of the most historic college football venues in the country. Do you like this type of challenge for Utah early on, or with all the questions, do you think it would be better if they had a softer landing spot to start the year?
Well, when Kyle was asked that question, he said he would prefer something somewhere in between, not necessarily FCS, but not necessarily a foe like UCLA, mysterious as they may be right now at the Rose Bowl. He'd prefer something somewhere in between. But I look, I don't care about that. I want to see what the truth is. Let's get right to it and see what the Utes have. The Bruins have that kid from Tennessee who transferred in, who is a lot like Dampier, just bigger. And so it'll be really fun to see how that matchup goes. Kyle said that because the defenses had to face Dampier through spring and fall ball, that's been an advantage because they have similarities from that quarterback position. But, yeah, I like it. I don't like all this messing around with FCS. Portland State, are you kidding me? That's a prostitution game. That's a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Pay me my money and get your win, and let's go on our way. This against UCLA will be real football.
So Utah's a 5.5-point favorite, Gordon, on the road. What's your gut tell you? Do you think that feels about right? Could they run away with it? Do you think it's closer? What do you think happens tomorrow night?
No, I think that's about right. I would favor the Utes, but not by a large margin. I think this is the thing, and it's so interesting because coaches are known liars. They just have a hard time telling the truth sometimes. But I've heard so many coaches say, I heard Kyle say it, I've heard other coaches say it, that they don't know. They really don't know what they have yet until they see it actually on the field against an angry opponent. They've been hitting against each other in practice, and that's pretty formidable, too, as far as the Utes go, because their defense is good. But let's see what happens when you're actually on the turf facing somebody who wants to beat your brains in. That's going to be fun to see. I don't like the waste of time with these opponents that, look, they're just not – they have no chance to win. Every once in a while you'll see an Appalachian State step up or somebody like that. And the programs, they need the money. They need the income that's provided to them. Do we know how much Portland State's going to get from BYU? I think, is it $1 million? Is it $750,000? I don't know. It's an amount that helps that particular athletic department, but it does no good for fans. It doesn't even really do that much good for the players and the coaches because it is a waste of time. A scrimmage would be more useful.
Do you think they should look to move these types of matchups maybe to a preseason setup? Coach Witt talked about that. And, you bring up some good points. And I want to be clear, I'm sensitive to the economics of this. And I understand that these smaller schools need the check to bankroll their athletic department and their football program. I just wonder if there's a way you can move these into a preseason setting. And therefore, to Kyle's point this week, you've got a couple of glorified scrimmages that help you understand a little bit more as far as what sort of hand you've been dealt.
Yeah, I understand both sides of the issue, that these teams need money and whatnot. But preseason, I just hate preseason all the way around, man. I like to see them get right to it, and let's see some real football, not something that's manufactured or cloaked in some way, meant to scheme one thing but to actually be something different. I don't think that really serves anybody.
Moving over to BYU now, and we had Kalani on the show this week, and of course you and I know Kalani, interviewed him a ton over the years. He gave such a thoughtful answer to a question I asked him, and I was a little careful about this question because I didn't want to come across as if I wasn't giving him credit for building the program now up for a decade. This is 11th year. I've just started to notice some of the conversation around BYU sounding a lot like some of the conversation surrounding Utah, as far as the defense getting the benefit of the doubt. Since Jay went down there, it's been a very stout defensive unit, the best in the conference a year ago, the 13th best in the country a year ago. And even with the Retzlaff stuff, a lot of people said, well, they didn't win last year because of their quarterback anyway. I mean, due respect to Jake, who made some big plays down the stretch. It was a great running game. It was a stout defense. And I asked Kalani, building this thing up, how much of it is your program with your stamp? How much of it is people that you've become to know in the past? He said, I completely did this the way that I thought my former coach would in Lavelle Edwards and the guy who mentored me in Kyle Whittingham. Does it seem like Kalani has built a program down at BYU that's a lot like Kyle's here in Salt Lake?
It seems like it, although I think Kalani has stressed more offense than Kyle has. I think, if Kalani had his way, the Cougars would score 50 points every time out. I think Kyle is totally satisfied with a 24-21 win. So I think that's a little different. But there's no doubt. I had a long conversation with Kalani. I went down there a week or so ago, and we just sat and talked. And Spence, you do this with him too, because as you mentioned, we've known him for so long. And he just opens up and gives you what he's feeling as a human, a real human coach. And I think he's wanted to build BYU. And one thing he learned is he didn't want to come in and try to be Lavelle Edwards. He talked to enough people to just, hey, Kalani, be yourself. Don't pattern yourself exactly after anyone else or try to do it that way. And he has bit by bit learned. When you see him over there dancing around and being emotional, that's real Kalani Sitake. That's who he is. People think Kalani's this super nice guy who's just kind of a big teddy bear. No, that's not him. He's emotional because he cares, and he cares deeply. And he's not a pushover. This guy is tougher than nails, and I don't think as many people know that who should. Yeah, he really is a tough-minded guy who wants to accomplish things. He wants to do things the right way, and I think that Kyle has done a lot of things the right way. Lavelle did a lot of things the right way, so there's similarities in that regard. But as far as going out and being Kalani Sitake's program, it has evolved into that now, and he does lean on the guys. I mean, Jay Hill is a great, great coach. Why wouldn't you lean on a guy like that? So he does, and he allows his coaches to be able to do things their way. So I guess that is a similarity, a little more like Lavelle than Kyle. But it's Kalani's show now, and I think he's well aware of that and fully secure in it.
When's the last time you cut a rug? I'm not talking about just like slow dancing with Lisa. I'm talking about getting out there and like cutting up the dance floor. When's the last time you did that?
Well, it's been a while, Spence, and since I blew out my Achilles the other day, it'll be a while yet.
Wait, what? Is that a real thing?
I don't know I don't know what the damage is to it, but I hurt. I was. I wish I could make this more manly. I wish I could make it more manly, but I was playing pickleball, Spence.
Oh no.
I was playing pickleball against my daughter, who happened, college tennis player. She hit a nasty little shot, and I ran up to get it, and I hurt my left ankle. And then I said, okay, I'm going to gut this out, and I kept playing. And then I don't know if it's partially torn or if it's just strained or what, but I hurt my right Achilles. So you would laugh at me right now trying to dance. I'm hobbling around like Walter Brennan. And if you're old enough to know who Walter Brennan was, then you get that. If you're not 60 or older, then you probably don't know anything about the real McCoys or Walter Brennan. But that's what I look like. Goodness
gracious. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
That was a lot more information than you really wanted to know, but there it is.
Well, I just, that's not an easy injury when it comes to getting over it. So take care of yourself. But let me kick the tires with this. Since you and I last spoke, BYU has named their starting quarterback. He is a true freshman. It is Bear Bachmeier, who, by A-Rod's own account, has had 14 practices with BYU, yet he won the job as a freshman. I mean, I don't know if it's an indictment on the room. Part of me feels like it's more of just a compliment to the kid, but what do you make of the way this QB battle went down?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that BYU was taken aback by losing Jake Retzloff, and they have a guy who's a gutty little quarterback at 5'9" or whatever, and then they have a guy who came in from Western Michigan. They're decent. They're good athletes. They're decent guys, but are they the kind of athlete that can lead a team in the Big 12? No, and so where do you go? You turn to a guy who's 6'2" and weighs 225 pounds and has a howitzer for an arm, even though he is somewhat inexperienced. Well, he's completely inexperienced other than the practices that you mentioned. And so what's going to happen? They're going to use him to his strengths. I think they're going to try and limit his possibility for error, his possibility for throwing interceptions. Now, how do you limit that? A-Rod says he's very accurate. And so if he's accurate, then he might be able to limit those kinds of mistakes. And if that offensive front gives him time, I think they'll be fine. If he has to run around back there and gets uncomfortable, then I think BYU's offense could struggle in that regard. But they're going to run the ball quite a bit.
All right, before I set you loose, I have to admit I thought of you when the news came down. RSL adds Rowan Cruz in the transfer portal, and he comes to RSL on loan from Botafogo. Is Botafogo the type of club that is a good litmus test for him to prepare himself for MLS play?
Garbage. Absolute garbage, Spence. I just don't believe in it. I'll believe it when I see it. And as you know, I mean, that there are teams out there who just sort of have a name, but they're not really much to look at, and that's the case here.
Huh. Wow. Well, they're one of the best clubs in Brazil. But we'll leave that there, Gordon. Get better soon, my friend. Thanks for the time. Best to the family, okay?
What country was that? Did you say Brazil?
Brazil, yeah, Brazil.
Oh, I thought it was I thought it was somewhere else.
It happens.
Actually, I thought it was in Southeast Asia.
Oh, all good, buddy.
Okay,
right. Thanks for the time, bud. See you soon. All right, Gordon Monson, Salt Lake Tribune. Before we catch a break, Ryan from the Dish Pros. Give him a call, 801-424-DISH. Make the switch to Dish. You'll save a ton of money. You'll save money on the internet, too. What's going on, Ryan?
Walter Brennan. He was like America's grandpa back in the day. So, I appreciate all the things that our good friend Gordon's gone through, and I love him to death. And,
For sure.
But, a very, 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 very great man. Listen, I'm super excited. I got an extra bonus right now if you set up with Dish. Not only getting the 2-year promotion, we're going to throw the NFL Red Zone free for the next 6 months. We're going to give you a price guarantee for the next 2 years, and you need that because everybody's raising their rates like every 6 months now. It's crazy. We got rate increases for cable and DirecTV that are on the books that are hitting here in the next month or so. Listen. Lower your bill, get the new promotion. I'll throw in Dish's very top package. You'll get all the channels free for the next 3 months. We'll also throw in the NFL Red Zone we talked about, throw in Showtime and Paramount Plus free for 4 months. But how about this? If you're an NFL big fan and the Red Zone isn't enough, you got to watch all the games, how about we get the NFL Sunday Ticket for half off of what basically almost half off of what the advertised price is if you sign up with Dish. So this is like a few $100 by itself. Call us up, take advantage of that deal. You get the extra deal if you want to get the Sunday Ticket. You can watch that through Dish system. You can lower your bill, get the biggest DVR out there, auto records your games. This is really important. It auto records the locals, and during the sports season, that is just an awesome feature. Because all of the late afternoon or evening games will just be on your DVR. Call us up and get upgraded. Get the best system. We'll throw in dinner at JCW's, have you installed for free. You get the best price guarantee when you call us. And it doesn't matter if you can hear me on the radio, we can service you. And this also pertains to internet. I've got internet for everyone. No matter what, if you call me, I have a solution, guaranteed. But I may have beware. This is a possibility. I might have 5, 6, or 7 solutions. If your current internet is slow, if it's glitchy, if it keeps going out, or if your bill is above $60-$70 a month, you should call because you can pay less money by a simple phone call. We've got some really cool tricks too. So when we switch everything over, all your connected devices, you don't have to go reset anything. It just works. You just pay less money. It's simple. Want to pay less money, watch the best TV solution, have the best internet, you call the Dish professionals, 424-DISH. Call us today, 801-424-DISH. That's 424-3474.
All right, we're live today with our friends at Tim Daly Infinity at 4594 South State Street. Very easy to find. ESPN 700 van is right out front. And the general sales manager, Cash, stops by once again on a Friday. Cash, happy Friday, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Happy to have you guys here.
Yeah, great to be here. So it's a little bit of a call to action because there's a situation right now that you guys have with a $4,000 credit or rebate for EV vehicles. But, Cash, it is going away soon, correct?
Yes.
Let's hear about it.
Come in, take advantage of that extra cash right now. $4,000 straight from the IRS to purchase a plug-in hybrid or electric vehicle. So definitely want to take advantage of that. It's only going to be here for another month. It does expire on September 30th. So get in sooner than later while you've still got a decent selection out there because these cars are flying.
Now, you guys have – I've been coming out here for a long time to do remotes with you guys, and whenever it's explained to me, it almost sounds like it's too good to be true, but it's actually true. It's called the Forever Warranty, and it's a staple for Tim Daly. Tell us about it, Cash.
Yes, sir. It's the Forever Warranty. Absolutely amazing. So we just want our customers to have that peace of mind. Come buy a vehicle, want you to know that you're covered for most critical mechanical breakdowns. So we're happy to provide that warranty for our guests.
And it is what it sounds like. It is a lifetime warranty.
Exactly. It's a lifetime powertrain warranty.
On new and qualified used cars. Cash, thanks again for having us out, man. It's been fun to meet you, okay?
Thank you, as well.
So coming out, remember, there's a $4,000 credit and rebate for EV vehicles that goes away in less than 4 weeks. Or about 4 weeks. So come on out. Do not wait till the last minute. These vehicles are priced to move. And then the forever warranty on all new cars, then qualified used cars as well. There are 7 Tim Daly locations. The one we're at today is their Infinity location with beautiful vehicles at 4594 South State Street. All right, 3 hours down, 1 hour to go. College football will take you home on the 5 o'clock hour. Chris Comrade from The Athletic will roll by. We'll say goodnight at 6. on a Friday edition of The Drive, and it's good to have you along for the ride right here on ESPN 700. All right, let's get it. Drive at 5 time, Friday afternoon style. Happy Friday to you. Happy weekend to you. Congratulations. You made it. Weekend time. Take a big old deep breath. And your commute home on a Friday afternoon gets rolling right now. Spence Checketts behind the mic. Porter Larson back in our downtown Broadway media studios producing the show today. Yes, we are out and about once again. Our tour of Utah continues today with our friends at Tim Daly Infinity at 4594 South State Street. Come on by and say hello. Vehicles priced to move. They've got EV credits that are $4,000. That's right. You can save $4,000 on a car, but that expires at the end of September. So there's a little bit of urgency if you want to take advantage of that. Of course, they've got their lifetime warranty. It's a staple for the Tim Daly Auto Group, 7 different locations. Today we're at 4594 South State Street. Come on by and say hello. It is Christmas Eve for college football fans across the landscape of our state, all 6 of our D1 programs. In action tomorrow, of course, the Utah Utes on the road taking on UCLA. Don't forget, that's a 9 o'clock kick. But our pregame coverage, as your home of the Utes, will begin at 5 o'clock with Porter. Porter will host our Utah pregame shows all year. And then after he makes way, he'll hand it over to Bill, Scott, and Sly. And they'll take you through kick, and obviously some post-game coverage. We'll probably be on the air till about 1:30 a.m. tomorrow with that late kick. Utah is still a favorite, but the line has moved twice towards the Bruins. As of now, Utah is a 5.5-point favorite to get the win on the road. So we'll see. That feels about right to me, as I've talked about all week long. About a touchdown spread is kind of where I've landed with this game. So we have college football. Of course, week 0 got rolling last week. Week 1 started last night with kind of a stunner as South Florida smoked Boise State 34-7. South Florida had lost their prior 19 games to ranked teams. So Boise goes down to Florida, and they get it handed to them. We had actually a bunch of games last night, including some out of the Big 12. There's some games going on right now in college football. Mighty Tarleton State that beat Portland State 42-0 last week is up on Army 10-7. We've got Western Michigan, Michigan State. Kennesaw State is playing Wake Forest. A bunch of games going on tonight. Western Illinois will take on Illinois. Kansas back in action taking on Wagner. A big one in Waco as Auburn and Baylor will go at it. So those non-con Big 12 games, you want to see the Big 12 teams perform well. And in that vein, Colorado welcomes in Georgia State in addition to that. So week 1, college football getting going. Got going last night. UCF did beat Jacksonville State. We saw Wyoming with a win, a Utah opponent over Akron. Oklahoma State beat UT Martin 27-7. It was kind of an ugly game. Cincinnati had a chance to win it at the end. They were in field position to kick a field goal, but they threw an interception, and Nebraska took care of Cincinnati. So some Big 12 football, of course. Portland State, BYU. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, that's on ESPN+. BYU is a cool 44.5-point favorite to win that game. Tomorrow morning, when it comes to the big game everybody's talking about, Texas-Ohio State, that is 10 a.m. on Fox. And also, College Game Day tomorrow will bid farewell to Lee Corso. It'll be the final time that Lee selects the headgear that has become so synonymous and famous with the College Game Day set. So we talked about that a little bit earlier, as Texas-Ohio State will be the setting for that. We are 6 days away from week 1 in the NFL. The world of pro football is continuing to react to a shocking trade made by the Dallas Cowboys, sending Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. Micah got his money. Cowboys got a couple of first-round picks and a really good defensive tackle named Kenny Clark, who's been to the Pro Bowl 3 times. So that has been the big topic, and a lot of people very confused about the mindset of Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys. You don't trade a 26-year-old pass rusher that's as good as Micah Parsons. And the Packers now, with the Super Bowl odds, are right outside the Big 4. Still Baltimore, still Buffalo, still Philly and Kansas City. But the Packers have been moved up right outside of the top 4 as far as a team that can win a Super Bowl as a result of the blockbuster deal that went down yesterday while we were on air. All right, we'll catch a break. We're going to do more college football coming up on the other side. Chris Camerani was live in Dublin on assignment for The Athletic for Farmageddon. get his thoughts on Utah and BYU. Then we'll say goodnight at 6, live at Tim Dahle on a Friday afternoon. So keep it right here on ESPN 700. All right, wrapping it up. Final segment of the show for the day and for the week. Special thank you to our friends out here at Tim Dahle Infinity at 4594 South State Street. Come on by and take advantage of a $4,000 EV credit. Check out the lifetime warranties on all new vehicles and qualified used vehicles as well. Special thank you to Wasatch Front Kia yesterday up in Ogden, and special thank you to the Dish Pros on Wednesday. We have been out and about all week. Programming reminder, we are off on Monday for Labor Day. Hopefully you are as well. We'll be back with live programming coming up on a Tuesday of next week. So we'll react to all the college football that happens over the weekend. And, of course, get you ready for week 1 of the NFL that is less than 1 week away from today. Okay, prediction time. We've been saving it all week. We'll do a full slate of picks next week. And, of course, we'll do our Big 12 power rankings that we do throughout the course of the college football season. I'll start with BYU Portland State. This game is funky. It is weird. BYU is favored by 44.5 points. I'm going to take BYU to win this game 55-7. That essentially means they cover. They'll cover the 44.5 points, and I don't think it's going to be interesting. I'll make some room for like a random scoop and score or something random from Portland State to actually score points, something they could not do against Tarleton State. So I got BYU 55, Portland State 7, and then Utah UCLA. Utah is a 5.5-point favorite. There are a couple of sports books that still have it at 6. FanDuel has it at 5.5. I think Utah covers. I think they go on the road. I think they get the win 30-21. I'll take Utah winning and covering. So against UCLA, there you have it. Porter, would you like to chime in, or do you want to save your picks for your pregame show tomorrow?
I'll save my score prediction for the pregame show tomorrow, but I'll at least give you a little preview. I do think Utah wins this football game, and I think they cover. So I'll give you Utes by a score. What that score is, maybe I'll give a little prediction at the end of the pregame show.
Who we got on the show tomorrow? What are we in for?
Yeah, on the show tomorrow, we'll be live at 5 o'clock. So we're kind of waiting all day for Utah football to kick off. But we'll have pretty much an entire morning of college football to discuss. Plenty of Big 12 games. Zach Moss will join the program. I believe Trevor Riley will stop by the show tomorrow. So a couple of former Utes and a bunch to catch up on. Of course, it's been a long off season. And we got to dive into like the entire roster, every piece of the depth chart to go 2, 3, 4 deep. We'll do that whole thing on a week 1 edition of Utes Game Day.
Wait a second. You have a depth chart?
I've got one, but
what?
I put it together. So
okay.
we'll have to see how accurate it is. Come kick off.
Will you release that depth chart to the general public?
Sure, I'll send it out to you.
Okay, fair enough. Big 12 teams in action tonight. Kansas and Wagner going on right now. Moments away from kick in Waco. Big one. Auburn, Baylor. And then at the same time, Folsom Field. Colorado, Georgia Tech. So Deion Sanders back in action. And then a full slate of college football tomorrow, Big 12 and otherwise. Neither Iowa State or K-State got a bye. I think that's so weird. But, of course, Utah, UCLA, 9 o'clock at the Rose Bowl. The game is on Fox, and you can hear it on our radio station. As I always say, you can turn the TV down, turn the radio up, listen to Porter starting at 5, and then Bill, Scott, and Sly after that. And 9 o'clock will be our kick for Utah, UCLA. All right, Porter, before we get out of here, I know it's a few days away with Monday off. Any teases for our Tuesday edition of the show?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we'll be off on a Monday. Kyle Whittingham's press conference will be live, so we'll play that back on a Tuesday. We'll be joined by one Scott Mitchell for a recap from what we saw in Los Angeles. We'll be joined by ESPN college football analyst. That's Max Brown with a little new gig. And we'll go from there on a Tuesday.
There you go. So you guys enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you have Labor Day off like we do. You've been waiting for it all year. As I say every year at this time, enjoy the moment. We blink and college football is suddenly gone. But it's a great time of year. We've got a great forecast for the weekend. So if you're not watching football all day on Saturday and Sunday, hopefully you get out and do something fun. We'll say goodnight, and a very special thank you to Chris Kamrani, Robert Johnson, Paul Pugmire, Matt Stevens, and Gordon Montz, and a lot of good sound from the show today. If you missed any of it, it's up on the website, which is ESPN, 700sports.com. Make sure to download our mobile app and take us on the go. ESPN 700 app is available in the App Store and the Google Play Store. Then finally, for what we do in our space every afternoon for 4 hours, check out our podcast page. Listen to the portion of the show that you want to on your time. The podcast is called The Drive with Spence Checketts. It is available wherever you get your shows. Subscribe, rate, review, say nice things in the comments. Give us all the stars. It helps out the show. If you have some time to do that this weekend. For Porter, I'm Spence saying goodnight. Have a great weekend. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. We'll talk to you on a Tuesday edition of the program. And as always, you can find it right here on ESPN 700.